handful of candidates running against Senator John Kennedy. We've talked with Luke Mixon a few times before, and we will have him on, talk about how the campaign's going. I'm honestly curious to know what folks are talking about around the state, because I have a feeling that what we see in headlines versus what we see out there are two different things. Back to that in just a second. District Attorney Tony Clayton from the west side of the river, slated to join us at 8:15. This one is, I'm going to say, tentative. I was looking for a confirmation from, we talked earlier in the week and said, let's go Friday, 8:15, boom. He said, okay, I'm in. I said, okay, cool. Was looking for confirmation, don't have it, but we've got a lot to talk about, and we're well overdue to get caught up with District Attorney Clayton as, the last time we talked to him was before Alabama sent a bunch of our kids home because they were too unruly to be housed in Alabama prisons to the tune of more than $300 a day. $300 a day, and Alabama saying, no, y'all aren't worth it. Peace, go home. We'll talk to Tony Clayton, hopefully. And then Solou in the house to round out the show. I was telling you that I'm curious to see if what is on the minds of the folks of Louisiana as Luke Mixon is out there campaigning comes anywhere close to the headlines right now. And I ask this because, is it possible for us to get headlines that aren't about the White House in one way, shape, or form? Headlines that aren't about Joe Biden right now, Joe Biden with COVID, Joe Biden yesterday, Joe Biden falls off of a bicycle, Joe Biden this, Joe Biden that. Is it possible to get headlines that aren't about the January 6th Commission? I'm not trying to downplay the January 6th Commission by any stretch of the imagination, but I also don't want to overinflate those who were involved. I've shared my take on the whole thing a number of times on this show. I firmly believe that those who breached the Capitol did so at something that was called Stop the Steal. The Stop the Steal rally, I believe their intent was to stop the stealing of the election. I believe they believed the election was stolen and they wanted to put a stop to it, which is why you breached the Capitol on the day that the election is going to be certified. Trying to walk down any other path beyond that just feels imaginary to me. It feels revisionist to me. That being said, those people should be dealt with and dealt with in short order or quick order, but I don't want to overinflate their level of significance on the timeline of history. How much do you think Luke Mixon's running into that on the streets right now? Campaigning. I know Senate doesn't really go door to door a whole lot, but you do go, chicken dinner to chicken dinner a whole lot. How much of that do you think, hey, Luke, great talk, man. Great to meet you. Thank you for coming out to see our group tonight, man. Look, here's what I really want to tell you about, man. When you get to Washington, D.C., let's make sure that people wearing animal pelts 2 years ago get their comeuppance. I don't think that's the case, and I could be wildly off. But I think the case is a lot more of, my neighbor lost his job. I got 3 people at my work that lost their job. I hear everybody's hiring. I hear everybody's looking for work. I hear we can't seem to get, I hear unemployment's down, and yet people that are in my circle find themselves without jobs. How am I going to keep the lights on? How am I going to keep the lights on that cost twice as much as it used to keep the lights on? I know we got a break. I'm sorry. I hate talking politics, but I can't avoid talking politics because you have to get through the politics to get to the governance. I like talking about the things going on in Baton Rouge, not the maneuverings that got the people in place to get the things going on in Baton Rouge, but the things that actually affect our day-to-day lives. That's what I want to talk with Luke Mixon about at 7:35. We are super long for a break right now, so we are going to go ahead and take it. A lot of focus on the Southeastern Conference this week, as it was SEC Media Days. When we come back from this break, let's shift the focus to the other side of town and an opponent on LSU's schedule on September 10th, the Southern University Jaguars getting some preseason good news, and we're talking about it next on Talk 107.3. Are we up on YouTube? Okay. 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 St. James Place is alive. Hey, give me 1 second. We'll run through that one more time because I'm knocking something out real quick. So I got to tell you, Cade, I kind of like having a couch in my office. Yeah. I don't want to stretch out. If I could stretch out on it, I would never wake up. Yeah, so normally I'll put my head down for about 15 minutes before the show, just to kind of clear my head and whatnot, and then wake up, refocus, and... Yes. Yes. So, and that's exactly what happened. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to be careful with it to be sure. As it dipped in melatonin. Yeah. It was legit, man. I put my head down. I sat down on the sofa, laid down sideways. Next thing I knew, 5:45, alarm going off. That's the get your ass to the studio alarm. 5:45 is like, okay, you've got enough time to, like, not walk in a fog. Well, the problem, Big D and Bubba are not in studio. So, to keep on a syndicated clock, his traffic has to be a full minute. If there's nothing going on, give me the time back. But... Yeah, he had one day where he was... recounting his own drive into work and talked about how he's counting the number of cars he saw on the road. .617 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. It is sports time on Mornings with Brian Haldane, and SEC Media Days are in the books. Saw T-Bob Aber already trudging back into the studio this morning. What's up, Brian? So, the fellas are back home from Atlanta. It's all in the books. Now's the time. Now's the time where Tiger fans talk themselves into going 12-0. I love this part. Or 15-0 once the playoffs are over with. I love this part where you can legitimately look at the schedule and say LSU is going to be an 8-4 team. You could say that on July 22nd. By August 22nd, we're pretty well convinced it's going to be we run the table except for Alabama. And then after we beat Florida State and Southern, it's going to be, you know what? Alabama better watch their you-know-where because we're coming for them. And, we will have successfully talked ourselves into it's going to be another perfect season. But I digress. Across town, Southern Jaguars have been picked to win the SWAC Western Division based on a preseason poll released by the conference. Center Dallas Black was named as the All-SWAC preseason first team.
Jaguar Nation, be prepared to see a dominant football team. Be prepared to see us, playing for a championship at the end of the season.
Southern has two all-preseason SWAC performers on the defensive line, Jordan Lewis and Jason Dumas. Lewis was the SWAC defensive MVP last season. Dumas is a transfer from Prairie View. Southern defensive tackle Cameron Peterson excited about the addition of Dumas.
Very excited to get a guy like Jason Dumas. We got Jordan Lewis coming back. You get a guy like Dumas, that's an instant impact guy. You know he's going to bring to the table every day. You know what he's going to do every practice, every game rep. So, it's just plug and play. You know what to expect from him. So, to get a guy like that, they don't make guys like that very often. And so to have that guy on this team, we're very fortunate.
Another football headline from the surrounding area this week, as we were focused so much on our sports segment on SEC Media Days. Southeastern picked to win the Southland Conference as well. So looking for a lot of success in and around the area. Here comes the Fox Business Report. Pain! Okay. Sorry. You said, hang on. You say. Let me see if I remember. It was complete collision I've already missed. That's actual lightning now, boss. And Mathurns should be on the way back in, right? Yep. Matt Hernes, all right. Bobby Boo. St. James Place is also this hour? Yes. Good Lord, it's a busy hour. I'm going to push St. James Place back to next hour because I don't like eating up Haggai's time. Just one potato?
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellations. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the largest timeshare.
And then you said beef was when? Okay. So the last half hour of the show is, I do at least three full reads for it within the show. So. Okay. Hey, you want to go to the Stop the Steal rally? What are we going to do there? Nothing? Oh, did you see that Landry cut? Okay, you got it. And you know where Dr. O'Neill's interview is at? Yeah. My left hamstring. Don't know what's wrong. Coming up on 624 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Haggai Davis in for a cup of tech gumbo here in just a little bit. Let's go ahead and kind of elaborate on what Taylor was talking about in that traffic report as he led off with the weather, as the weather is going to play a factor in your morning commute this morning. And looking at the radar, well, I don't need to look at the radar. I can hear the thunder outside the window, so we know what's coming down right now. But what's it going to look like as the morning wears on? Well, what is being listed as a 100% chance of rain right now scales back to about a 60% chance of rain about an hour from now. So this is going to stick around for most of us. This is going to linger through morning drive for most of us. When is it going to be gone? Probably by about 11 o'clock this morning for a little bit. After that, we got about a 40 to 50% chance of rain throughout the rest of the day and the early afternoon, all the way up until about the early evening. So plan accordingly, please. Make sure that, if you're going somewhere, I don't think we're going to see enough rain for any kind of flash flooding. At least if not, we would hear about it from Marissa Nuzzo. But plan accordingly throughout the day. And if you're going to the Rougarou game tonight, it does look like the forecast clears up before first pitch. Just hope the field doesn't take so much water that we have to worry about that. I don't need it.
Yeah, Rougarou grew up in the swamp. You think you can't walk through the rain?
I think the Rougarou could definitely walk through the rain. I think the visiting team coming in from Victoria might not do so well. Have you seen what's going on tonight with Rougarou? I was talking with Ronnie Rance about it yesterday. There's some kind of wrestling event going on as well?
That is correct, yes.
What is that about? Was he able to elaborate? I just saw the promo thing for it.
Like, are we talking they take time in between innings and they're slamming people against the fence?
Bro, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's I've seen the fence around the backstop always says no pepper games. It never says no wrestling. So who knows what's going to happen out there? Also, it's Friday night, Rougarou Friday night, which if it rains all day, it should be cooler for the game, right? Stands to reason. Yeah. But fireworks after the game as well. So hell of a night to go see the Rougarou.
The game will be on our sister station, ESPN Baton Rouge tonight. So we look forward to having that game tonight and then Sunday's game against Acadiana over there. What is it?
Yep. Cane Cutters.
Cane Cutters.
The Cane Cutters.
There you go.
What's the Victoria one? There's somebody on a horse, I think. See, I'm not as up on the mascots as I should be. Hey, you know what? We'll look it up off air and figure this out. The Ichabod? No, they're not the Ichabod Cranes, Haggai. We have got we've got a lot more news to cover. We'll worry about the Rougarou schedule later on. Reading to you from The Advocate, abortion access is still alive in Louisiana for now. Sam Carlin penning this one. We say penning. You're typing. 19th Judicial District Judge Don Johnson ruled Thursday in favor of abortion providers who sued the state, arguing the state's law banning abortions at all points in pregnancy are too vague. He granted a preliminary injunction blocking that ban. I don't know why we had to waste the whole week waiting on this. Don Johnson said this from the start. We knew Don Johnson's take on this from the beginning. We heard it again, and now we've heard it a third time. So the decision marks a win for abortion rights advocates who have fought to keep abortion clinics open through the legal challenge. The skirmish is part of, from Sam Carlin's article, the skirmish is part of a nationwide battle in the wake of the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade. We had trigger laws written in by our legislature, the people who are there to make the laws. We had those trigger laws written in that said, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, this will happen immediately. We don't have to wait for another legislative session to think things out and write out laws that would ban abortion. We have these to go into effect right away. So, where do we stand right now when it comes to whether or not abortion will be legal or legal long-term in Louisiana? This is going to take a little bit more time. I believe it goes to a state district court next. But I had Attorney General Jeff Landry on the show earlier in the week, and I asked him, I said, we're kind of just spinning our wheels here, right? Why can't this just go straight to the state Supreme Court, get a ruling there? And he said, that's kind of what we should expect.
I cannot believe that the Supreme Court didn't stop this legal circus. Back when we were in New Orleans, we sent a writ up to them. I think Justice Cream wrote a great dissent. The chief, for whatever reason, decided he didn't want to be a part of this and punted, okay, which again speaks to the leadership that we have in this particular state. I mean, other Supreme Courts, like Texas's Supreme Court, has already nipped this in the bud.
Begs the question, doesn't it? I know sometimes you have to go through the process for the sake of going through the process. But we know where the process is headed here. We know where the process is headed with this one because had the Attorney General's side won in Don Johnson's court, it was going to get kicked over to state district court anyway. There are certain cases where, okay, this isn't going to stop until it gets to at least point X. Well, then let's fast forward to point X. Well, you got to hear all the arguments now. They're going to make all the arguments there. Instead, we have to continue to go through it. There's another case where, and this is totally off topic, but it's the same thing with the St. George case. The folks at St. George voted. 54% of the folks who showed up to the polls said, we want to be our own city. Okay, well, now it's got to go through the legal process. So step after step after step after step, it has to be drawn out. And the problem when you draw it out like that is we don't get the resolution anytime soon, which means that neighbors get to keep fighting over a difference of opinion. Rather than resolving it, coming together and saying, hey, tough beat, or hey, congrats, we have to continue to duke it out because we don't have closure. Yeah. Rant over with. I'm done. It's a rainy Friday morning. We're going to do our best to get you to work safely and on time. We are under a severe thunderstorm warning. That has crawled across the screen. So give yourself a couple of extra minutes getting to work this morning. In the meanwhile, we'll break for news, traffic, weather. When we come back, Cup of Tech Gumbo with Haggai Davis up next. Generals! But they're on a horse, right? There's just some mornings where I'm not ready for it, If I call someone a coward, does that mean I'm ordering their murder? No. I cannot give you context because the context brings in confirmation bias. No, that's all wrapped up, jacked up. My guy.
That's good. No, yeah, it should be in that feed.
Joshua Stockley? Yeah, they got both of them. UL's getting big, man, now. They got two people in the political department. They do, man.
You mean USL?
ULL. LLLLLL.
No, it's
And now they illegally just say UL. They just try to say there's nothing legal about that. Their legal term is the University of Louisiana. Right.
You go drive down Johnson in the middle of Lafayette, and there's just Louisiana on a big sign out in front of the campus. And then in little letters, there's no Lafayette written. It's just University of Louisiana.
Right. Which, if you ask the president of the UL system what makes them the flagship, he will tell you they're not. They're not. I don't know why they have to be. Well, this is no longer his quote. I'm taking it from here. I don't know why they have to act like children all the time. But I'll tell you what, though, every time I can poke them and make them act like children, it makes me hilariously laugh. Yeah. We got a better record. It should be in our gym. Yeah, well, you know what? We don't play in a gym. Real schools play in an arena. I miss that dick.
Did you hear that? So Michael Kay is like ESPN New York, calls me games. Did you hear that thing with the Greca? What's the guy's name?
What?
A guy who like co-hosts a show with him, or is also big in it. This guy went off. I guess people were saying like he wouldn't be, where he is if it's not for Michael Kay or something. And so he goes on this rant and says, "I got better hair than this guy. I have more friends." I don't know if it was like contrived to be comical, but it ended up being comical. I heard it through Levitard, but it was fantastic.
He was talking about ULL?
No, but it's back and forth argument between who's better. Maybe that.
Oh.
I got better hair. So, who's this George Costanza guy that fills in for Greeny on the radio?
drive guy for ESPN Radio National, Chris Canty.
He's horrible.
Yeah, they pair him up with Chris Carlin. Chris Carlin.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of a bunch of
Guy who's a former player. Carlin
is the George Costanza guy, and all they can talk about is New York sports.
Hang on. Byron, yes, you could still suggest a topic and submit a question and get yourself a coffee mug.
Yeah, you got to go to.
Oh, maybe I need to refresh then.
Yeah, you go to techgumbo.net.
Oh, I was responding to him.
I've already done it.
It's not on my feed.
It should be.
Well,
Maybe if your phone wasn't made during the first George Bush administration.
Oh, Sam.
still, and I just refreshed. Somebody post up a question for Haggai to answer during this segment, and let me see if I'm not getting anything or if I'm just stuck in like some kind of. Galen says, what part of abortion ban during all parts of pregnancy is vague? Yeah, I don't know, dude. I legit don't know. Now, I will say this, though. I don't put it past our state legislature to write a poor law when it comes to the law being legal or the law being constitutional. I don't put it past them. There's a lot of ready, fire, aim over there, man. KC says, stay safe, folks. It's bad out there. Water starting to collect at the bottom of the old bridge. All right, good to know. $9:45. It does feel louder. Yeah. Yeah. Byron says if Haggai responded via chat, I don't see it.
Wow.
Is that on our air right now, Cade? Is that took over on air? Okay. Yes. Do what? Top stories and trending. Shoot, I got to go find that. I'll find it at the break. There it is. I got it.
But you didn't get the other one?
No. Yeah, it's time for Tech Gumbo. Yes, it is time to welcome in Haggai Davis. What's going on, man?
Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Louisiana Youth Seminar.
Absolutely.
Going on over at LSU this week. It's a leadership program for high school kids. It's just an awesome program. I love it. LYS been involved since the 70s kind of thing when I was back in high school.
When you were a Ute?
Back when I was a Ute.
Yeah, you were telling me about it a little bit during the show, before the show, and
it's a great program.
It does.
For
It sounds
high school
fantastic.
Kids and so, shout out to LYS.
All right, juniors and seniors or earlier?
Typically, most of the time is for kids going into their junior, senior years.
Okay, cool. We got a lot of ground to cover on this morning's segment because there were a number of things we didn't hit on last week, but I got a different place that I want to start this morning.
Okay, go.
Well, in TV they call it a crossover episode, right? Let's do a little crossover episode between Patrick Gremion and Cup of Tech Gumbo. Yesterday we were talking with Patty G about how during the pandemic, and a lot of folks before the pandemic as well, but specifically, or more to the point during the pandemic, a lot of restaurants invested in software that brought their online ordering systems up to speed. A lot of restaurants wanted to move to a more automated platform, more online ordering platform, but customers are still calling in. And what we're finding now, amidst the great resignation and the trouble rehiring and all these other things, is staffs are short. That's problematic for the restaurant, because if you don't want somebody just sitting there manning the phone, you want them all over the place. So I wanted to broaden that topic out and ask about investing in technologies and what kind of ramp-up time companies normally put into, okay, this is clearly not working. Guys, it looked like a good idea on paper. It's just not playing.
It is still a good idea on paper. And according to the National Restaurant Association, 8 out of 10 restaurants are still investing in technology for their restaurants. Part of, and I was listening to you and Patty talk yesterday, part of the issue is, you tell me what decade you went to high school in, and I'll tell you whether or not you're using the phone or using the computer to place your order.
90s.
You're on the computer.
Am I?
If you went to high school in the 70s, you're probably phoning that one in.
Right.
If you went to high school any time after, the 2000s, after the 90s, you don't like to make a phone call. You don't like to talk on the phone. So it's which demographic are you trying to reach with your restaurant? If Couillons and Port Allen, if the majority
who was referenced in the 225 article,
referenced in that, or if the majority of the people over there are a little bit older who like barbecue, and they're probably going to use the phone to call in because that's how they've done it their whole lives. But when you look at the national trends and you look at what's going on with according to the national associations, they're buying the touchless boards that you order your menus, your QR codes to pull up your menus at when you sit at the table. Those are things that restaurants are still investing in heavily.
Let me flip the script on you for a couple things, though. All right. Normally, when I'm ordering to go, it's kind of a last resort. So I don't want to be fumbling around on my phone behind the wheel of my car as I'm leaving work, heading, hey, what are we doing? Christy, what are we doing for dinner tonight? You want to just get some to go from somewhere, just call it in, pick it up on the way home. I'll tell you, so tonight I'm going to the Ruger game, so this won't apply tonight. But the number of Fridays specifically, where I'm leaving here and we'll go to Tiger Sushi over on Sherwood, and I will grab dinner from Tiger Sushi, who's still doing only to go right now. I'll grab Tiger Sushi and then head home. I want to be on the phone when I'm behind the wheel, not staring at my screen.
But again, you're behind the wheel. If you were sitting at your desk before you got behind the wheel and said, hey, Christy, what are we doing for dinner? Oh, then, okay, let me just pop online. You make the order before you get in your car. You're
right.
going to do that online. You're not going to call them if you're sitting at your desk.
So then maybe my perception of to-go is what's skewed here. Because, if I'm sitting at my desk and it's any part in the day that's before the actual drive home, I'm probably opting to go out. Hey, grab the kid. Let's go. Let's go grab some curbside or something. Where you leave the house and you go to the restaurant and as opposed to, I don't know. Maybe I guess it's my perception of to go that's skewed here.
But do you live in your phone? I mean, again, it's what demographic are you going after? If you're going after somebody 30 years and younger, they don't like to look at their computer screen. They live on their phone and they order everything.
Let's not get away from that, because that is the stronger point. You're right. That is the stronger point. The younger you get, the more app-based you're going to be. And that's not to say that somebody who graduated high school in 1973 would be averse to using an app. That's to say that the more we move down the timeline, the greater the likelihood.
Absolutely. And so, if you're like me and I graduated from high school in 1980. And so I'm that immigrant to the technology island, okay? I wasn't born into it the way my kids were born into the technology island. They're natives to the language. They know how to use. The only thing I've ever done is use technology to order food, whereas we still have the paper printouts of the Chinese restaurant down the street from us, kind of thing, and we'll call it an order with them. That restaurant my guess would very much more prefer us to go online and click, a couple of whatever we want and post it that way, so they don't have to take the time to talk to us. It just comes in it hits the little iPad there at the front desk. Oh, we got another order for this.
So I'm a graduate. I'm a class of '95 from high school. Where am I at with Technology Island? I'm not full on Mr. Rourke over here.
You're not you might still be an immigrant, but more than likely you went to high school with computers in the classroom.
Yeah, but it was like,
But see, it doesn't matter how fast the computers were. You had a computer in your classroom.
okay.
There were no computers in Morgan City in the 1970s when I was going through high school.
Yeah.
And the first computer I ever saw was a Tandy TRS-80, and it was the cassette player that was the hard drive.
Right.
And so that's kind of where you have to understand, my kids, they've never known a day without having the internet in the house. And so,
But I'm like more the dial-up guy.
sure, but nonetheless, you still were using the internet in high school.
No, we were learning the
You had
computer on
America-
a little floppy disk.
But you had
Remember those?
America Online, you had Prodigy, you had those different types of things
Yeah.
that you were playing with. And
Okay.
that was still the internet. As early as it was in the whole process, you were still... And so knowing who your audience is, who your target demographic from a restaurant, who's going to be ordering food from me. If you're a fast food, if you're Subway or Jimmy John's, you're pushing that app.
Okay, so there's another part to this as well, though, that you're not that we haven't gotten to, and we probably should pick up on it on the back end of the. You know what? No, we've got other stuff to get to after the break. We'll continue this discussion on YouTube as we hit the break, and that is the difference between local and national when it comes to your habits as well. Because as soon as you mentioned Jimmy John's, I'm like, yes, Jimmy John's, Domino's. Something like that, I'm more likely to do online as opposed to when I want local, I get local. So, somewhere on that Technology Island, I'm not Mr. Rourke, but I'm not Tattoo either. He's Haggai Davis. It's Cup of Tech Gumbo. We do this every Friday. Quick break. We'll check traffic. We'll check your money now. Coming back next. Yeah, rest in peace, Hervé Villachez. I don't know why Technology Island is Fantasy Island to me, but okay.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
Here's the thing, though. All the people that would be ordering online totally don't get that reference. Hey, morning, Christy. My wife says I remember learning DOS in high school, and my computer teacher's name was Mrs. DOS. What?
Nice.
What is Mrs. DOS? Not Ms. DOS, because then her name would be MS DOS.
Oh, wow.
Right?
God, I remember learning DOS.
I like people who have names that have something to do with like when you're a pitcher named Early Win. You know? Yeah, I want an Early Win. You know what? I'm never going to trust my finances to a guy named Owen.
Cade, this sounds like this is in your wheelhouse just to start.
Owen big time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not trusting my finances to a guy named Owen.
Owen plenty.
Yeah.
Renee used the trash 80.
My financial support this show is brought to you by Owen Plenty. Sounds like the names from the car guys.
And then there's always the law firm of
Don't drive like my brother.
The law firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
Right. I actually know a lawyer whose last name is Dewey. So. I don't know what Cheatham, though.
You may have to bridge the gap between here and the.
What am I, Ronnie Lamarck?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
There's a throwback reference.
Bob, Fantasy Island, Ronnie Lamarck. I am totally 80s right now.
You are.
Presented by the Where's the Beef Council, huh?
Just don't come back in as WWL. Hap Glotty over here.
If I couldn't get that old if I tried.
I never got to hear.
Man, I got to hear.
I just knew the show was named after him.
Oh, I loved Hap.
I got to hear. Same.
30 seconds.
All right.
To fill here.
Okay.
I grew up listening to WWL radio.
Cup of Tech Gumbo continuing right after we check your money now. Please be careful as we are still under a severe thunderstorm warning this morning. Stay off your phone in the morning drive as the weather is a little more contentious. Hey, got to remind you before we hit your money now, dropbiscuitstudios.com, dropbiscuitstudios.com, your southern home for southern storytellers. We got this thing up and running, and it's nothing short of fantastic. Check out Pops, the Louis Armstrong story, over at dropbiscuitstudios.com.
So where do you want to go after the staying with the restaurant theme, or you got something else you want to talk about?
I'm looking for last week's, and I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is.
Last week's show?
Yeah, last week's show. By the way, Deborah Todd says graduated 1973, use apps to order food and everything else. So there's going to be
the game though. I mean,
right.
That's what
Right.
she's in this world. She's
Right.
in the, and so she's not the norm for
Right.
somebody who graduated in 1973.
It's 50-50 for me. If we're at the house and I can get them over the phone, sometimes like we call Dempsey's often on Friday or Saturday. It's right down the road, and their phone is like they don't have call 40 or whatever, so you constantly get the business. So,
FCC and auto warranty calls. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No. I mean, because I don't like ordering these. Well, I ordered Jimmy John's earlier this week. There's a $4.99 delivery fee. So some of these like delivery fees, there's so much.
It's the cost of another sandwich.
Right.
You can get a slim sandwich for that.
I order, and I
No.
order to go pick up most of the time. I'd love to get it delivered, but the fees add up, and it's like whatever. So it is convenient to like put it in, pay for it already, and that's the balance. Like,
My
I'll go
frustration-
pick it up, it's already paid for. I have to go exchange it.
Local pizza places, they have the online order app, but their app don't work.
Right.
That's where I get frustrated. The
The reliability or lack thereof is a big factor.
yeah, Rotolo's out there on Burbank, their website is great, but you try and order on it and it sucks. It works 1 out of 10 times.
Oh, I love this.
Nice. Speaking of your 70s reference,
The generals riding that horse.
this was Morgan City High. We use this as our theme song.
652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Cup of Tech Gumbo rolling right along. CBS World News Roundup coming your way in about 7.5 minutes from right now. And then after CBS World News Roundup, we will have your traffic and your forecast from Marissa Nuzzo as we are still under a severe thunderstorm warning in Baton Rouge. Haggai, as we were going into the break, I wanted to I brought up another topic that I didn't think we would carry over to this end of the break, but we talked about it on YouTube a little bit, but when it comes to restaurants, there's a difference between the chains and the locals when it comes to online ordering.
Absolutely.
And I didn't think about it until you mentioned, and by the way, I apologize. I know it's Jimmy John's, but the marketing campaign with Brad Garrett, I can't help but call it Jimmy's John's. No, sorry. Robert from Everybody Loves Raymond, like he's
great.
He is infectious. I love that character. I don't know that there's ever been a successful transfer of a character from a commercial to a sitcom. But I would love to explore that world. They tried it with the Geico Caveman, and it sucked out loud.
God, that was
Yeah,
so bad.
right? Well, you know where they went wrong? They tried to use different actors. Just give me the caveman I already know and love. So easy a caveman could do it.
That would be, and that one was harder. I mean, okay, it would probably have been good for one show, but to try and drag that out, I mean, how many times can you pull off that same silly theme that
Right.
dumber than a caveman?
Right, but you got a somewhat bumbling mob guy now
Yeah. Oh, he's great.
who's got
Oh, he could go for days. He could go for years.
Yeah, I know. Somebody get this thing in the works, man. Get Brad Garrett on it. You know, I'd like
Jimmy
to see
John's could sponsor it for sure.
that. You know they would. All right, but there's a difference there between ordering a sandwich from a place that has 10 things on their menu and you're picking number 1 through 10. I know Jimmy John's got more than that, but 10 things on their menu and you're picking 1 through 10, or Domino's, where, and we do this for the kids every so often, where you, that topping, that crust, that sauce, and you're done. It's not as, like, it's a lot more template based. And also, you've got national backing into the technology that's built it.
Yeah.
You don't have, you know what, my nephew can build an app for you.
Yeah.
And that plays a difference into it as well.
It really does. There's several of the local restaurants, we won't name any names, but you go to their website and you try and place your order, and it just gets locked up.
Right.
Then when you call the restaurant and say, hey, I tried to order online, but your website's crashed. Oh, I'm sorry, you're the third person who said that today. We'll get our website guy to work on it.
Okay, but their website guy isn't working at 7 o'clock on a Friday night. He's not working on it until at least Monday, probably later on in the week. So you're talking about sacrificing an entire weekend's worth of orders.
Absolutely, and that's very frustrating. I mean, because I do like to, I would prefer ordering online as opposed to calling, because I know if I ordered online, I'm going to get what I ordered. If I call and the noise is kind of busy, the young woman or young guy, whoever answers the phone, is going to have a 50-50 chance of understanding what I'm saying. And God knows if I say no onions, she may have heard extra onions. And that's frustrating.
Okay, yeah, it is.
So I like ordering online. I'm one of those that does. I prefer to use the app.
So to me, there's a definite difference there, and I'm the one that gets stuck with the, hey, rolling out from work. Let's just call it in. All right, speaking of calling it in,
Yes.
hashtag segue,
Nice segue.
the FCC tells 8 small voice providers to block calls from an operation that's been flooding people with robocalls or risk being cut off from the U.S. telecom network entirely. This is throwing an elbow right in the nose, or at least it sounds like it.
Oh, this is much bigger than that.
Really?
Yes. So there are 8 regional telecom companies. Most of them are in rural Wyoming that they have allowed 8 billion auto warranty robocalls to happen. And I mean, we're talking Geist Telecom, Fugel Telecom, and companies, South Dakota Telecom. I mean, you're out there where there's 16 customers on this telecom company kind of thing.
Right.
And they're probably not very sophisticated in what they do. And you have these companies allowing telemarketers to go through their system. So if you're the telemarketer sitting overseas somewhere, pick a country, and you originate your call through this telecom company, through Fugel Telecom, and then that routes back out. If you live in the Fugel Telecom company area and you're trying to make a phone call, you're calling here to Baton Rouge, and you've automatically got a handshake deal because of the FCC from Fugel to AT&T. So that's how you get a hold of me.
Oh.
But if the FCC says, Fugel, you don't clean up your act, we're not going to allow you to do any handoffs. Fugel can't call AT&T. They can't call Verizon. They can't call anybody. And now Fugel is out of business.
Dadgum.
So this is not just an elbow to the nose. This is a full crosshairs on the eyeballs.
Right.
That we're going to pull the trigger and put you out of business if you don't clean up your act.
They going to follow through?
Oh, yes. The FCC, we've done stories for the years about the FCC trying to get rid of robocalls, and every time they put down this mandate, and there's another backdoor. Well, these companies have found these little small telecom companies who are not finding or not blocking the stuff. Well, you block that, and there's a whole lot less robocalls happening.
We're going to do a little bit of a bonus segment as we hit CBS News here, because there's one more question I want to ask about that. But I hate getting it. I got one yesterday, and they have the disguised number that makes it look like it's something. Look, I got a call. It looked like it's from Montague, Louisiana yesterday. And like every time you get those calls, this one was from an actual voice overseas. But normally it's that like recording that if the first words out of your mouth on your recording are "Don't hang up," the words coming out of my mouth after that I can't say on air because of the same FCC. But just envision an exacerbated Roy Kent.
Don't answer the call if you don't recognize the caller ID.
Can't do it in this business.
Let it go to voicemail. That's why Baton Rouge is the #1 per capita market in the United States for getting robocalls.
So I'm going to throw this question out as we go in the news. If you're not watching us on YouTube and want an answer to this question, this is where we're going from here. It is 2022. How is this business model still profitable? Hold off on the answer while I say thank you for coming in today. Catch Tech Gumbo Saturday and Sunday at 4 right here on Talk 107.3 FM. He is Haggai Davis, host of Tech Gumbo. Appreciate you, brother.
You bet.
Here comes CBS News on Talk 107.3 FM.
Protect your retirement. The Presley Group time, 7 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, Byron. Punch card. You know it.
How are these businesses? How is this a profitable business model at this point?
Because that call doesn't cost them anything. If they're making 1,000 calls a day and they get one person to say, you know what, I think that would be good, I'll go ahead and sign up. Okay, it's profitable to them.
That's what I'm asking. How are we still in a place where that one person will go ahead and sign up?
Brian, who is it? P.T. Barnum said there's a sucker born every minute. That's how. I mean,
But enough about the January 6th Commission.
exactly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring politics into a teleconference.
No, I did. No, I did that. It was a cheap shot.
Oh, you bet, Deborah.
What was that about? I hadn't heard that quote yet. Anyway, back to it. It baffles me that this is still working and functioning as a model. We all have the same, bleep, and hang up. Or, like, I'll hand the phone to my daughter and she'll bark at him. Yesterday was one that was a voice, sounded like he was from India. And, there's only the level of frustration with, I'm waiting on a phone call from somebody's PIO, somebody's press secretary, something, and then you answer the phone, hello, this is Michael. Like,
So my oldest, Haggai the third, who my co-host on Tech Gumbo, back when he was still living in the house, and we had a landline, and the phone would ring, and we had the caller ID obviously pop up, and if he knew it was a telemarketer, he would race to the phone.
yeah.
And as soon as they'd go into their pitch, he'd say, "Hey, wait, stop! Before you go any further, how do you clean up blood? Can you help me with that?"
All right, you want the $1 billion business?
Please.
The next level caller ID, the one that cracks through, no, this call isn't coming in from Port Barry. This call is actually coming in from
So
Dubai or wherever.
The phone number spoofing is just part of their system that they can make it look, if they know the system knows it's calling to Baton Rouge, it'll grab a 225 number and just pretend this is a.
How do you get past that?
Well, that's an AT&T Verizon question, a T-Mobile question. I mean,
I think that's in the works though. My phone is getting better and better with the spam risk.
absolutely. Those there's apps, there's third-party apps you can download that will say, point out this is a spam risk. It looks like a spoofing call. AT&T has gotten much better. Verizon, both of them, we've done stories over the years about how they're trying their best to identify potential spam calls to, and say this is a risk, be careful kind of thing. It's just very hard, or it's very easy when you pick up the phone, you just, okay, that's probably Jim calling. Let me go ahead and grab that. And it's not.
Right.
It's one or two digits off. It looks like it. It's five.
Oh, I've had one come up as an exact match. It's come up as the name before.
Oh, that's cool. I've not had that.
Right?
But I've had where it was one or two digits off of what I was expecting. So that's probably in the hunt group behind it. I'll go ahead and crap. And so I'm almost to the point of I don't answer if it's not already caller ID in my phone. If I don't have it saved as a contact, or if I've not written that phone number down and I'm expecting a call from that number, if I'm on my cell, I don't answer it. Because in Baton Rouge...
Hang on. Say again. Oh, shoot. Give me one second.
Go ahead.
After the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan,
I agree with you, Brian. I mean, Baton Rouge is one of the nicest places on earth, and we want to be nice and answer our phone because, that bless your heart, that may be somebody I need to talk to. I'll go ahead and answer it.
Once a day, I get something from the 985 number, and I grew up in the 95.
They're done. After that, okay.
But like it's so weird. Like it's disguised. It's no longer. Some of them say spam calls, and it's gotten better. But
I'm Taylor Sharp at the Guarantee Media Traffic Center. Brought to you by Shaw Bills, where you can get up to $230.
I was working for ETEL when we went to the 985 and added 337, and when Baton Rouge became 225, and man, that was a pain in the ass year. Oh yeah, I was 504 as well. It was 1997, 1998 when we went through the transition. I got to be careful how I say that phrase. When we transitioned we went from 504 to 225.
I can't find the individual cut, so yeah, that should be it. Somewhere along the way, I learned to save my audition sessions. I know. Come to me to introduce Marissa. Time to get a look at that Friday forecast. Here to tell you everything that the Thunder can't is WBRZ meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo.
Pre-dawn showers and storms will be clearing during your morning commute. Some thicker cloud cover in the morning will keep the temperatures from spiking, and there's no heat advisory today. A little bit of sunshine will start to peek through this afternoon, and temperatures will be.
I didn't realize that.
They will also feel like the low 90s. Another round of afternoon showers and storms is expected.
For misogynistic intros until I started
Any action on the radar will be clearing after
It's
sunset.
gonna be a hot one up there. It's gonna be a hot one.
Mostly dry, and the heat advisory.
That cloud cover's thick. Speaking of thick.
And Sunday, stay connected to the Storm Station.
Oh, I finally met Fallon the other night. Oh, really? So she's not just stuff. She's also. Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Still a lot of thunder rumbling out there. Still a lot of rain. Still under a severe thunderstorm warning on your morning drive, so please be careful on your way into work this morning. Thanks again to Haggai Davis for stopping in for a cup of Tech Gumbo. As we said, you can catch a full serving of Tech Gumbo Saturday and Sunday at 4 right here on Talk 107.3 FM, and, of course, anywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Coming up this hour in our next segment, we've got Dr. Catherine O'Neill. We are going to talk about COVID. We're in another surge right now. And if you're anything like me, it's like, ugh, why aren't we done with this from a news perspective? Well, because every time we think we're done from a news perspective, what ends up happening is we get another variant. So a lot to talk about with Dr. O'Neill as we are looking at this morning, or I should say as of yesterday at noon, we're back up to 700 and, I believe, 47 COVID patients in the hospital in Louisiana. Yeah, 747. 3,466 new cases reported yesterday. Now, you could be saying, well, Brian, COVID's like the flu. It's just going to be around forever now. And I agree with you, yes. But 11 people didn't die from the flu yesterday. Or there weren't 11 reported flu deaths yesterday. So it is still a thing, and we will still talk about it. Not nearly as frequently as we did throughout 2020 and 2021, but every once in a while it's going to bubble back up to the surface. Talking with Dr. O'Neill about what's different about these particular variants and mutations, and where we're at with long COVID as well. So that's coming up in our next segment. And thanks again to Haggai as he's making his way out the door. Hey, after Dr. O'Neill, we're going to talk with Luke Mixon. Luke Mixon is running for Senate. Qualifying continues through today, and there continues to be more and more people added to the race, not just for Senate, but a number of congressional races as well. And we'll dive into that in just a little bit in our top stories and trending. But I'm looking forward to talking with Luke Mixon about what is actually being talked about on the streets in Louisiana right now. As you campaign around the state and you visit this Kiwanis Club and that Rotary and wherever you might be going to be the keynote speaker at whatever dinner, whatever rally, whatever town hall meeting, What are folks actually talking about? Because I don't think it's the January 6th commission. I really don't. But you heard the lead-in news right there is the January 6th commission. All we hear about when it comes to national news, when it comes to what's going on in our nation's capital, is about, it's like it's all inside baseball now. We have no regard for our own lives anymore when it comes to the news and what the news choose to feed to us. It's all about who's the guy who's at the helm. So, I don't live my life that way. I don't think you live your life that way. And I'm hopeful that that's what Luke Mixon is hearing out on the road as well. As as he's lobbying for the job to head to Washington, D.C. and handle that. All right, that's all coming up later on this hour. Right now, it's time for Top Stories and Trending. Let's get it. Nope, that's not it.
Number 5.
Let me start with a clarification. That's my fault. I meant to update that yesterday. My bad. We had an old open to the segment in there, so my fault right there. Number 5. Starting off with The Advocate. Will Centel over at The Advocate reporting. 2 more candidates filed for the U.S. Senate on Thursday, which means Senator John Kennedy now has 10 challengers. Bradley McMorris, no party, and a Livingston resident, and Salvador Rodriguez, a Tangier Democrat, entered the race in hopes of unseating the Republican John Kennedy, who is heavily favored to win this election. Filing is going on until 4:30 this afternoon. A flurry of contenders is expected before filing ends this afternoon. Looking at a couple of other races, Congressman Troy Carter got a challenger Thursday when Dan Lux, a Harvey Republican, entered the race. And over in the third, Tia LeBrun, a Lafayette Democrat, entered the race against Clay Higgins.
Number 4.
A judge has ruled against Louisiana's trigger laws banning abortions in the wake of the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling overturning Roe v. Wade, allowing clinics to continue operating until a lawsuit over the controversial ban is resolved. Lawsuit was initially filed by pro-abortion activists in New Orleans, prompting a temporary restraining order stopping the ban from being enforced. That lawsuit, which alleges the language in the trigger laws is too vague, was moved to Baton Rouge earlier this month. Attorney General Jeff Landry, who has spearheaded the legal fight in favor of the ban, has said he expects the case to go all the way back, at least, to the state Supreme Court.
Number 3.
A woman told deputies she had to play dead to survive after her ex-boyfriend shot her in front of her kids. The shooting happened Tuesday evening in an apartment on O'Neill Lane, just off South Harrells Ferry Road, after the alleged attacker, identified as 30-year-old Roy Haynes, shot the victim in the shoulder during an argument. After she was shot, the victim told deputies she played dead out of fear that Haynes would shoot her again. Haynes reportedly kicked the woman in the stomach before leaving the apartment. The woman's children, aged 9 and 15, were both present during the attack. Haynes was arrested in Calcasieu Parish, booked as a fugitive on charges of attempted second-degree murder and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office said the woman was taken to a hospital and is expected to be okay.
Number 2.
East Baton Rouge Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome announced a proposal to raise wages for city parish employees, namely law enforcement. According to a statement from Broome's office, Baton Rouge police officers would see the biggest increase, a 7% bump. Firefighters and other employees across the parish would see a 5% raise. The proposal will be introduced at next week's Metro Council meeting. If approved, it would go into effect on September 10th. BRP, that's a Saturday. It would go into effect on a Saturday? While LSU's taking on Southern? VRPD saw 2 separate pay increases, each around 3% last year, as the city parish said it was working towards making police pay more competitive with other agencies. The increase would mark the first city parish-wide wage increase since 2015.
Number 1.
Number 1's got to be the weather, because we are still under a severe thunderstorm warning. That severe thunderstorm warning is going to be in effect until after the show is over with, until about 9:45 this morning. That being said, you heard the forecast from Marissa. Expect this to peel back just a little bit as your morning drive wears on. As we move through this hour specifically, scaling back from a 100% chance of rain to about a 60% chance of rain, which, will take any improvements at all. Now, looking ahead to the rest of the day, going to have a chance of rain lingering throughout the afternoon hours as well, but this afternoon is not expected to look like the pre-dawn conditions that we saw to start off the morning. Those are your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending this morning. That is the LSU Southern football game. Capital City's preparing for a first-ever football face-off, the Southern University Jaguars versus the LSU Tigers. Thursday, fans lined up at the Southern University ticket office to purchase some of the few tickets left to watch the historic game. For LSU, this is one of the few in-state schools that the Tigers haven't played, and it's all going down under the lights in Tiger Stadium on Saturday, September 10th. By the way, the Southern University ticket office was open yesterday, selling seats in the 600 level for $45. There aren't many tickets left. This is going to be a hot ticket item, and I am predicting this is going to be the greatest tailgate environment in the history of tailgate environments. Sorry, Jaguar Nation, it's going to be a blowout. But tailgating environments pregame are just going to be off the chain. Those are your top stories in trending, which is presented by St. James Place. Yes, are you looking up at opening up that next chapter in your life? Are you moving into retirement? Are you looking at, you know what, the kids are gone. We need to sell off the house, downsize a little bit. Really don't want to be living in this place anymore. I would really rather move someplace that has an all-inclusive life plan community. It's time to start planning out those post-retirement years. St. James Place. When you think of St. James Place, if you're thinking of a nursing home, you're thinking all wrong. If you're thinking of a nursing home, yes, they do have nursing care. They do have memory care. They do have assisted living. But it is an all-inclusive life plan community. If you're thinking of St. James Place and you're thinking, I'm too young to be there, look, no. This isn't just like we retired years and years ago. There are a number of residents in St. James Place that still haven't retired. Most independent living residents move in their early 70s, some well before that. The sooner you get over there, the sooner you enjoy the outstanding amenities and the engaging community. Check them out online, stjamesplace.org, stjamesplace.org, or give them a call, 215-4500. St. James Place. Live life well. Quick break, coming back, Dr. Catherine O'Neill next. All right. Do you have the O'Neill interview? Okay. We should be able to dive straight into it and not even come to me, which means I am going to go find out what happened with that Top Stories and Trending Open. I don't know how an Open just completely disappears, and I don't know why when I closed it out last time it didn't save. I'll be back.
I'm Taylor Sharp at the Guarantee Media Traffic Center. Brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to
When you have a lot of antibodies around, even if the vaccine's not a perfect match, they're better than not being vaccinated. And we have seen that with the Omicron surge in the winter. We're seeing this surge now. So while we talk about vaccine efficacy, it is better to be vaccinated. Hands down, no question about it.
I often forget about that work is still being done, because this is behind the scenes at this point. And you said that the vaccine came out at light speed. I mean, warp speed was right in the name of it when it did come out. It's, we forget that we are science is still playing catch up while we're in real time.
That's correct. That's correct. There is somebody actively thinking right now, how can I make a vaccine that it doesn't matter what variant's out there? And I have no doubt that they will figure it out. It's a little bit slower to get there.
Are people still getting vaccinated for the first time? I'm sure those numbers have dropped off greatly, but is it still happening?
They are. They have dropped off greatly, but there are still people who, they waited for certain things. We saw the Novavax be approved this week. There were some people who were waiting for Novavax. There are lots of reasons for vaccine hesitancy, and everybody makes up their mind at a different time. And so we're still offering first shots. While it's not often, we do see people reaching for them.
What's the latest on long COVID?
The latest on long COVID is that children and adults can get long COVID, and now that we've seen vaccines widely available for children, it's very important that they get it. More details about long COVID, not just the fatigue that you heard, not just that I can't get back to my regular life as you heard last year, but also an increase in diabetes in children and adults after COVID. Diabetes is very much an immune system disease, and especially in children, and we're seeing increased rates of diabetes develop in people who are recovering from COVID, and vaccination can decrease that. So very important that all of the side effects of post-COVID can be decreased by vaccination. And then very interesting evidence that if you get vaccinated after having had COVID, decreases your chance of long COVID, kind of right to the immune system problem that went wrong. So I think long COVID's here to stay. It's very much a risk if you're not vaccinated. But again, I hate to harp on it, but vaccination is just such a great thing for both prevention and then also possibly to recover from long COVID.
And will remain so. Just having weapons in the arsenal always helps. In the meanwhile,
we all like tools.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And in the meanwhile, we always appreciate the time. We always appreciate the information and the access. Dr. Catherine O'Neill, thank you so much for hopping on board today.
Thank you. Great to talk to you.
You too. Time for us to check our local news, traffic, and weather. When we come back, we're going to dive into the Senate race with Luke Mixon next.
U.S. Senator John Kennedy has already raised about $29 million in cash, but says he'd like to break the $40 million mark before Election Day. Those on-hand funds far outstrip any of his endorsed challengers. So why would he want to raise even more? UL Lafayette political science professor Lucy Ross says a standard rule in politics is more is always better.
So even though Kennedy's two main challengers don't have deep pockets, he doesn't know who else might be out there that might want to get rid of it.
Ross says if Kennedy aims to reach the $40 million point, he probably will. Gasoline prices have dropped to a statewide average of $4 a gallon for regular, a tweak of some 50 cents over the last month. Louisiana AAA's Don Redding says when prices get this high, reality sets in for consumers.
It was additional income monthly taken away. Anywhere between $300 to $500 a month. That's a lot of money to try to make.
Bradley McMorris.
You're starting to see that impact.
Demand for gas has dropped sharply due to high prices, so the prices themselves are dropping. A local woman told sheriff's deputies she had to play dead after being shot by her ex right in front of her kids in hopes that she'd avoid being shot a second time. The victim says 30-year-old Roy Haynes instead kicked her in the stomach and then left. The kids, ages 9 and 13, witnessed the whole thing. She'll be okay. Haynes is now in custody, charged with attempted murder and convicted felon in possession of a gun. Last year, Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome in her office gave Baton Rouge cops a 6% pay raise. Now, this week, she proposed an additional 7% raise. Baton Rouge Metro Council will vote on the proposed increase next week at their meeting. Bill Profito with the Baton Rouge Police Union says he can only see this as a step in the right direction. And another scam alert. Lawmen are saying do not be fooled by people claiming to be with the Publishers Clearinghouse. The liars will call you saying you won fabulous prizes or huge amounts of cash, but they need you to pay taxes on it in advance using gift cards. They say, just hang up the phone. Kevin Gallagher, Talk 107.3, Baton Rouge.
I'm Tyler Sharp in the Guarantee Media Traffic Center. Brought to you by Shaw Bills, where you can get up to $230 on the purchase of for eligible Bridgestone tires. Visit ShawBillsTire.com to learn more. Well, the rain continues in Baton Rouge this morning. However, I do have a little bit of good news for you. That accident that was on I-110 northbound at Highway 19 in Scotlandville has now been cleared up, so all lanes of travel are open there. But be advised, we do still have some incidents in Baton Rouge that could cause some slowdowns. The first is a stalled vehicle in the roadway, Airline Highway right at westbound I-12, and a vehicle stalled on Greenville Springs Road at Monterey Drive. Taking a look at some drive times right now, and it's about 18 minutes. Stevens at the Zinsdale split, and a 19-minute drive, Highland to the bridge. That's the latest from the Guarantee Media Traffic Center. We'll report to you all brought to you by Shawbill.
Beef is an excellent source of protein that supplies 10 essential nutrients, including B vitamins, iron, and more. The Louisiana Beef Industry Council brings you today's Foodie Friday, highlighting all the fantastic ways you can kick off your summer grilling season. Whether it's a ribeye to remember, beef kebab, Dad's secret hamburger recipe, stock up on beef in the summer to keep your family healthy with the protein they need to build muscle and mental strength. Today's Foodie Friday, sponsored by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council.
Assistant, how can I avoid big spikes in my electric bill?
Demco's levelized billing program uses a rolling 12-month average as your bill amount, meaning you pay around the same amount every month.
Sounds good. How do I sign up?
If you've been a Demco member for at least 1 year, you can enroll in the levelized billing program. For more information or to enroll, log into your My Demco account. Learn more
So-
at www.
You're in charge of the weather again?
Yeah.
Okay. You got a minute.
So yeah, the gym shut down. I'm having $5 pizza 5 nights a week, and there's just no time for anything. And I put about 30 of it back on, and then in the years since then, with pandemic and all that other good stuff, you just end up packing on a few more, and it's like, all right, wake up call. So Go Slim Nutrition was sponsoring the show for a good stretch. That's who I lost it with the first time, lost it with the second time. It's like Ideal Protein with local coaching.
Yeah, my wife's big into nutrition and health, and my guilty pleasure is the 300 calorie IPAs.
Oh, yeah.
They made I don't know why they made it taste so good.
Yeah, I like the hazy IPAs. I like it's cheating. It's because you have the ABV of an IPA, but you get the flavor of not the hoppy.
You live near Mercy, right?
We actually live in Sherwood. We live real close to St. Thomas More. Hang on. Oh, is that rain sticking around out there? Let's check our forecast with WBRZ meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo. Yeah, we go to Mercy. Our whole life is at Mercy, but it's...
My son's going. Actually, my son's leaving Mercy. He's going out near Sherwood. He's going to Brighton. You in Brighton school up there?
We're at Brighton, the club basketball team, Mongoose, with Bo Brock.
Okay.
And they practice and play games at Brighton. So.
Okay, well, I'll tell you about my son. We were at Mercy and just decided to move him over to Brighton. School for kids with special needs.
Yeah.
And, we're excited about it.
Was Mercy special needs? It wasn't up to...
It was good. We're just always looking for the right solution.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, we love it here. I love the people. And they said, we're going to try something different. Might be back next year.
Well, we've got a new principal, so...
Yeah.
Allison Laborde.
Allison, yeah.
I'm a little bit pumped about the future. She's gonna be
I've gotten to know her a little bit. I love the people there.
Yeah, we're all right.
I love it.
738 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Qualifying continues until 4:30 this afternoon. The Senate race is now up to 10 candidates. One of them is sitting to my left physically and politically. He is Luke Mixon. Welcome back, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, bro.
Don't laugh. I use that joke on Franz all the time. It's not an original. How are you? Good?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Good. Glad to have you back on again. So before we get anywhere else, you took care of the actual qualifying, right? I mean, you've been gearing up for this some time. Nothing slipping through the cracks, right? It's like, oh crap, we got to get over there.
Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, we went there. We went there Wednesday morning. We got it all done. We're excited.
You wouldn't believe. I've seen it happen before. I've seen it happen. Not in a Senate race. It was in a state race. But yeah, I've seen it happen.
We avoided that misstep, and
Good.
We're excited.
Good. So a lot of ground I want to cover here, but there's going to be an overriding theme to this, and that is the disconnect between Washington, D.C. and you and I. Our headlines, CBS News at the top of the hour, it's all about January 6th and or the president has COVID and or this and or that. But when I'm talking to people in my life, this is not our concerns here. I'm curious, as you're out on the campaign trail, what's the feedback? What are the issues that people care about that is at the top of their minds?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. First of all, you're right. There is a disconnect between you and I and our representatives in Washington. And frankly, these are things I understand. You know, I grew up in rural Louisiana. I came from a middle-class family. I'm very much a middle-class family now. And what concerns me are the same things that concern people I'm speaking to throughout the state. It's crime. It's inflation. It's bringing high-quality jobs back to Louisiana. That's what people are talking about right now because those are the things that affect our daily lives.
Let's break those down one at a time.
Yeah.
And what you would plan to do to help solve them should you be elected to the Senate. What can the Senate do when it comes to crime?
Well, I think, you know, as far as crime is concerned, we've always said that, you know, there's a short-term solution. I believe there's a long-term solution. And in the short term, I'm a firm believer in funding our police departments. I believe we need to provide our police departments with the resources they need to hire qualified police officers and to give them the training and knowledge they need to, you know, protect and serve our communities, you know, safely, effectively, you know, but also humanely. You know, I spoke to a police officer last night from Baton Rouge Police Department, and they simply just don't have enough officers, and that's true for New Orleans as well. In the long term, as far as crime is concerned, I think we just need to give kids another opportunity. Let's invest in public education. Let's invest in early childhood education and our HBCUs. Let's just give kids a different path. As far as inflation is concerned, again, you know, I think there are short-term and long-term solutions. I think a lot of our representatives in Washington, D.C. simply point fingers and cast blame, but really don't offer any solutions. I believe in the short term, let's crank up energy production. You know, I think our oil and gas companies are seeing record-setting profits, while you and I are paying $4 a gallon for our gas. So let's crank up energy production. That means oil and gas, but renewable as well. I think Louisiana's in a really unique place with our infrastructure we have, the pipelines, the unique workforce we have, to continue to be a world leader in energy exportation, not just oil and gas. And in the long term, I'm all about investing in American jobs. You know, I think we showed what a global pandemic and war in Europe has done to inflation, what it's done to global inflation. So let's invest more in American jobs, so we're not so dependent on other nations for our materials and goods.
When you talk about energy production, a lot of that is going to involve oil and gas. You mentioned renewables on the back end, but Louisiana's lifeblood comes from oil and gas. That's not to say in the future it couldn't be different. We have every resource under the sun, literally including the sun, right here in Louisiana. So, as we move forward, as technology moves forward to make other forms more viable, sure, but we're not there yet. Promoting oil and gas would put you at a spot where you'd be butting heads with your own party here. How do you walk that line?
Look, I'm here to represent the people of Louisiana and to help lower gas prices. And like I said earlier, I think the oil and gas companies need to increase production. And I'll be honest with you, I think the Biden administration needs to make it easier for those oil and gas companies to do that. Louisiana is an oil and gas state. We'll continue to be an oil and gas state. But it's not an either or, right? We can be oil and gas while also welcoming wind and solar and carbon capture. We can do both. And like I said, I think there is such a bright future here in our state, both to do something about the climate as our energy transforms into renewable, but also provide high quality jobs here in Louisiana in those new forms of energy.
Yeah, when you talk about the new forms of energy, this is one of my soapboxes. As a Republican, this is one of my soapboxes. So I work here, and then I work over at LSU, producing for Sports Radio Network, and then I DJ weddings on the weekend. I have what we call supplemental income, side hustles, right? Why can't renewable energy be viewed the same way a side hustle is? I don't get it. It's everything we talk about boils down to an all or nothing, an all or nothing discussion.
Exactly. It's because we politicize everything. Everything we treat as either or. We're in reality, it's a compromise. And right now there is a premium on renewable energy. You'll typically pay more for those type of energy sources. But that's changing. The world is changing. The planet is changing. And here in Louisiana, we must do the same and welcome in these new forms of energy. So you and I pay a little bit less for our electricity bill.
Now, the issues you're hearing about right now, are they the same ones that you thought they would be on the way out the door?
Well, it's those three I just mentioned, and I would say, obviously people keep up with current events, so obviously I get a lot of questions about abortion. Right now I'm getting a lot of questions about marriage equality, and we're getting a lot of questions about January 6th.
And so are you getting a lot of questions about January 6th?
Oh yeah. I mean, last night there was a 25-year Army veteran, and that was his only concern. He was proud of his service to his country, as he should be, and he's deeply concerned about the democracy that he and his friends and my friends fought for is being threatened by people who on January 6th, and I mentioned Senator Kennedy being one of the 6 senators who voted to decertify our election, people who didn't have the courage, people who didn't have the patriotism to do the right thing. And, sometimes I feel like I go around the states campaigning for Senator Cassidy. But the truth is, while he and I have some differences, some political differences, on January 6th, I was proud of the courage and the patriotism he showed to do the right things. In the day, they're just right and wrong. And I believe he chose to do the right thing. I think Senator Kennedy failed.
The January 6th Commission, and I find it amazing that here we are in July of 2022, and this is still a topic that is topping the headlines damn near every single day. And honestly, I think for those that want to push it as a headline, it's going to end up backfiring from a political perspective. But I don't want to get far away from the actual meat and potatoes of what our nation was built on, and that was, having fair elections, having the electoral process play itself out. Those two things, that's where your two opposing sides on whether or not January 6th should have happened come down. But having the process be respected at the end of the day. I just, when I'm running my daily life, when I'm hustling my kids to practice, when I'm looking at my energy bill, when I'm, talking to my neighbor who's trying to figure out where he's going to work next, I don't care about a dude who's wearing a pelt who's at the Stop the Steal rally. It just, I don't know. That's where, to me, I end up falling off.
No,
go ahead.
No, I agree with you to a certain extent. Yes, people are concerned about crime and inflation and high-quality jobs, but, one thing that I run into throughout this day is that people love this country in the same way that I do. We're proud of how we've been a beacon of the world of equality and justice and freedom. And I'm so proud of this nation. I know we have a lot of progress to make, and I want to be part of that progress. But the very foundation of all that is our democracy. And it's this wonderful American experiment we have, and it's a fragile republic. It's a fragile republic, and we must have leaders that will always fight for the truth. We must have leaders that will always defend this great nation.
I want to make sure we reserve a couple minutes to talk about some of the other candidates. But let me ask you about the you mentioned marriage equality, I think you said.
Mm-hmm.
How's that? In what fashion is that coming up?
Well, after the Supreme Court and the Dobbs decision, obviously Justice Thomas talked about revisiting marriage equality, and I get a lot of questions about it. I think it was yesterday, I believe, the House voted to codify marriage equality, and people have a lot of questions about it. I can tell you how I feel about it. I would absolutely vote in support of codifying marriage equality. It's I was raised for the dignity and respect for everyone, and for everyone's equality. And I believe part of that is marrying the person you love. And if that happens to be of the same sex as you, I'm perfectly fine with that. In fact, that's great. Everyone deserves to live a life in the pursuit of happiness. And if that means marrying someone of the same sex, that's great.
And you mentioned abortion as well. I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you did, does the Senate have a role right now when it comes to the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, kicks things back down to the states? Does the U.S. Senate have a role in this debate?
Well, the U.S. Senate obviously, nominates and votes on Supreme Court justices and all federal judges. I can tell you how I feel about it. I not consider myself. I'm a pro-life Democrat in much the same way Governor John Bel Edwards is. But I strongly support exceptions. Pro-life has to be more than just the opposition to abortion. And it has to be more than just pro-birth. I support exceptions for rape, incest, or the life of the mother. There's nothing, pro-life about forcing the victim of rape to bear her assailant's child. And there's nothing pro-life about a mother of 3 who wishes to terminate a pregnancy that threatens her own life. There's nothing pro-life about her fearing jail or prosecution because of that. And again, I remain consistent on this issue. It's not just pro-birth, right? I support affordable child care. I support early childhood education. I support quality and affordable health care for everyone. And look, I also support responsible gun legislation so that our children aren't slaughtered in our schools anymore.
Had a question on YouTube I'm going to toss to you. Why are you a Democrat?
Why am I a Democrat? I'm a Democrat. Look, I think I've proven that I'm a very moderate guy. I believe I represent the 70% of us in the middle, but I'm a Democrat because in my life, in the recent history, I believe Democrats have stood up for equal opportunity and protecting the most vulnerable. And that's the way my parents raised me, and that's what I believe the Democratic Party stands for. It's protecting the most vulnerable and standing up for equal opportunity. In a recent history, I believe the Democratic Party has been the party that represents the truth more.
Before I get you out of here, I want to talk about some of the other challengers in the race. We know where you stand with Senator Kennedy. Gary Chambers is creating a lot of noise here. Have y'all had any interaction, any back and forth? Will we see just some level of, if not an in-person debate, something going on where those who are on the Democrat side of the aisle can get a better view of what's what?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Chambers. I think this race provides voters with three clear choices, right? You have Senator Kennedy, who certainly demonstrated him to be I just describe him as a far-right Republican. And then you have Mr. Chambers, which I think he describes himself as a very progressive left-wing candidate. And there's me, and I think I've proven myself to be a very moderate, middle-of-the-road candidate who simply wants to do the right thing and will always put his country and his state above his party.
He is Luke Mixon, running for Senate. This isn't your last time here. The discussions will be regular and frequent up until Election Day, and probably after that as well. I appreciate you coming in today.
Thanks, Brian. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. We got to take a break. After this break, when we come back, we'll step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish, a segment we call The Outside In. Before we hit that break, though, got to remind you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. Look, raining out there right now. The chance of getting into an accident increases in the rain. So let me give you a phone number, 768-9898. 768-9898. Why do you need a phone number before you get into an accident? Because once you get into an accident, things start moving very quickly. Is everybody in my car okay? Is everybody in the other car okay? Are we blocking the lines of traffic? Is there something dripping in my car, out of my car, that could be flammable? All these things are running through your head. Meanwhile, a random tow truck that you didn't call shows up. Where are they going to take your car? No. You have to stop it right there. You decide where to take your vehicle, and that's why we tell you about Complete Collision Center. iCar Gold Class certification puts them in the top 15% of body shops nationwide, certified by more than a dozen major manufacturers. Check them out online at CompleteCollision.com. CompleteCollision.com. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We are going to check that traffic, make sure none of y'all are getting in accidents. When we come back, The Outside In is coming your way next. Right. No, thank y'all. Appreciate it very much. Oh yeah, can we grab come grab a pic real quick? When we post them on demand, like we're still doing the segment. Yeah. When we post them on demand, we like to have the photo that goes along with it. It serves the we're still talking, like we're still doing the segment. So yeah, it just when we're posting them on demand, the pics rather than just like some standard stock photo always ends up looking better this way. So, good deal.
But yeah, anyway, my son's going to Brighton next year, so we got a little drive ahead of us, but we're excited. We'll see.
So,
and Mercy was, I know you're very involved with school. They were great. Yeah, it was just Brighton is just the whole school is dedicated to kids with special needs.
Yeah.
Where Mercy is just that little small section, and we just felt like maybe he was feeling.
Whether it's that ribeye to remember, beef kebab, Dad's secret hamburger recipe, stock up on
We're leaving the rails on this one, Cade. Hello. All good. 756 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. My apologies to the folks on YouTube. My mic will be on as we hit the news at the top of the hour here. I was rolling, too, y'all. I was rolling. We were talking about a little of the post-mortem on talking with Luke Mixon, who is running for Senate. There are 10 candidates in this race, y'all. I mean, so odds are, and like Luke said, you appreciate anybody who steps up enough to run, right? But this is the big three are going to be the big three here. You're going to have Senator Kennedy. We didn't get around to campaign finance, war chest or anything with Luke on this one, and I'm a little remiss because we had it in our news at the bottom of the hour. Millions of dollars on Senator Kennedy's end. How do you compete with that? Anyway, you got Kennedy, Mixon, Chambers. That's where it's been. It's probably where it's going to be. I wouldn't mind reaching out to and hearing from some of the other candidates, but don't get distracted by the number of candidates in the race. All right, every day at this time we step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish. It's a segment we call The Outside In. Let's roll. Starting off in Livingston Parish, deputies are asking homeowners to check their surveillance systems after a reported shooting in a Denham Springs neighborhood overnight. Sheriff's office said deputies responded to 4-H Club Road near Nickens Lane around 8:30 p.m. Actually, I believe this was on Wednesday night, not last night. Over reports of gunfire, the sheriff's office said it's unclear how many shots were fired, but it didn't appear anybody was hurt. It also didn't appear that residents in the subdivision were the intended targets. Now, while there were no injuries on the scene, the sheriff's office said at least one person died of the shooting was treated at a Baton Rouge hospital. Next stop, Ascension Parish. Construction of the new Prairieville High School is well underway. However, a new school can't function without old roads. Roundabouts, the new buzzword out in Ascension Parish. There's a roundabout at the intersection of Henry and Highway 930 near Prairie View Middle School. That one's already up and running. The next one is for Parker at Highway 929 at the site of what will be Prairie View High School. The roundabout we started talking about was Prairie View High School, expected to be completed before school opens in the fall of 2024. It is unclear when the actual road work on this one will begin. Heading over to Tangipahoa Parish, 2 Amite city officials pled guilty to violating federal election laws by trying to pay for votes during their respective elections. Former Amite Police Chief Jerry Trabona, 72 years old, current Amite City Council member 49-year-old Christian Hart, offered to pay Tangipahoa residents in the primary, to vote for them in the primary and general elections. Hart also pled guilty to 3 counts of offering to pay people in the 2016 and 20 elections. He was running for a seat on the Amite City Council in both of those elections. By the way, while we're talking city councils, the New Orleans City Council on Thursday voted to allow NOPD to use facial recognition and other surveillance tools in crime fighting. That is the Outside In. We are due up for CBS News at the top of the hour. Hour 3 coming your way next. So I was clarifying. Galen said a mother of 3 is not health emergency. I'll go back and re-listen to it, but I was pretty sure he said if you've got a mother of 3 who is facing a health emergency, which would be a very important distinction right there. Yeah, a mother of 3 not wanting to become a mother of 4 is one thing. A mother of 3 who, when you're looking at the risk of 3 children losing their mother, that's a completely different story. But where I really started to leave the rails was, when you talk maternal mortality, it's very easy to look at the overall numbers and say Louisiana is terrible in comparison to other states when it comes to maternal mortality. But maternal mortality is at 0.02% of pregnancy. And this is the hill we want to die on? When it comes to the overall abortion debate, if you want to talk about just saving babies, let's get a starting point to save the babies and work backwards from there. That's the part I don't understand. Well, you know, are you going to have exceptions for incest and rape? Will I save babies overall? Then yes, I will. Like, first of all, it's a different scenario, right? Anybody who willingly engages in sex should damn well know going in that pregnancy is a possible repercussion of sex. If you're abused or raped, you're not a willing participant. That's a bit of a game changer. A bit of a game changer. Now, the flip side of that is you're still terminating a life. Yes. But I, for one, am willing to look at the bigger picture in that regard and say it's not just a life that was unintended, but a life that was criminally achieved. That, to me, is the difference. Now, going back to the maternal mortality part, 0.02% of pregnancies face maternal mortality risk, right? What number I can't find, and for the life of me, I've looked for this number everywhere. The number that I can't find is how much of that maternal mortality, how many of those at-risk pregnancies would the abortion still save the life of the mother? That's the number I can't find. Like, let's say you have 10,000 pregnancies, okay? And of those 10,000, let's say 20 of them are maternal mortality cases. So if you tell me we commit 20 abortions, we save all 20 women? Or is that number then lower? Because now you're talking about, we'll abort the baby to save the mom. Okay, but did you actually save the mom? Because if you're pro-life, you are in turn saving a life. Look at this from a strict numbers standpoint. If you are pro-life, you want a net positive of a life, and you definitely don't want a net negative of a life. If you're trading the life of the baby for the life of the mother, you now have a net zero of life. But are you maintaining that net zero, or are you dipping into the negatives? That's what my mic was. That's what I was saying when my mic was off earlier. Hey, can we do a separate poll question? Because I want to get into this at some point. I am sick and damn tired of the amount of my Facebook feed that's filled up with 2024 presidential hopefuls. Mainly because I'm not seeing the one name that I want to see. But it is mid-2022. How much focus can we put on one job as opposed to living our own lives? So the poll question being, at what point do you start paying attention to the next presidential race? October of that year? Okay, that's a healthy spot. Now, to be fair, by that time we already know who the two candidates are, right? You kind of have to pay attention to your own party in the spring of that year to vote in the primary. Oh, do you have this day in Hiswa? Cool. Let me, yes. Okay. Thunder continues to roll outside of the studios in downtown Baton Rouge. What does that mean for our overall forecast? Here is WBRZ meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo. U.S. Senate against John Kennedy. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP, hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you. Kate Wassan producing. Thanks again to Luke Mixon for popping in studio last hour. Thanks again to Dr. Catherine O'Neill for talking a little COVID last hour. This hour, let's talk about some unruly kids. Let's talk juvenile justice. Tony Clayton going to join us in our next segment. Also this hour, Foodie Friday presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. That's all coming up later on in the hour. Coming up in just a little bit, Cade's going to have This Day in History for you. Before we get you to This Day in History, I got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's Market. So, talking a little bit this morning about the LSU Southern game coming on September 10th. That will be the first home game of the season. That means that as of now, it's not too soon to start telling you, get ready, Mathern's is your tailgate headquarters, your game day headquarters. When you hit campus, do you want to be dragging a heavy you-know-it cooler all over campus? Or would you rather just pop in Mathern's and check out that phenomenal craft beer selection? You're hitting up your friends over here, your friends over there, this tailgate, that tailgate. You realize, you know what, my friend can't grill as strong as he thinks he can. Maybe grab a plate lunch from Mathern's as well. Maybe you are hosting the tailgate. You get out to campus. You realize, oh, my word, we forgot this, we forgot that. Mathern's is a full-service grocery store. And on game day, they are your answer. Boom. Nicholson Drive, the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, directly across the street from Tiger Stadium. It's Mathern's. All right. Time for us to roll back the clock. Time for This Day in History.
All right, Brian.
What'd it do?
I think I figured out how to put myself in the video portion for this segment.
Yeah, you did. Look at you in the bottom corner over there.
How about that?
Nice. How about that?
All right. This day in history, 1862, Abe Lincoln. You ever heard of him?
Abe Lincoln?
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard of him.
Gotcha. He informs his chief advisors, the cabinet, that he will issue a proclamation to free enslaved people, and he will wait until the Union Army has achieved a substantial military victory to make this announcement. That happened 1862.
1862, he looked for a proclamation to emancipate people. What did he call that thing?
I'm going to say it would be a clever way to just turn those words around and make it the Emancipation Proclamation.
Nicely done. Very nicely done.
It's 1933. American aviator Wiley Post returns to Floyd Bennett Field in New York. He traveled solo around the world in 7 days, 18 hours, and 49 minutes. Was the first aviator to accomplish that feat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
1934, just outside of Chicago's Biograph Theater, notorious criminal John Dellinger, America's public enemy number one, was killed in a hail of bullets fired by federal agents.
Is it Dellinger or Dillinger?
You know what? I'm probably confusing his last
I
name
mean,
with Delly, and because I heard, SEC Media Days.
Right. No.
Dillinger. I think it's I. So
Let's not confuse John Dillinger with Ross Dellinger.
Not the same thing.
No.
All right.
One's just deadly with the pen.
All right. Speaking of crime, we continue in that category. 1991, cannibal and serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer is caught.
What?
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer was caught on this day?
Yes.
Wow. What year was that?
1991.
Okay.
Which I thought that was way earlier. I thought he was a 70s, 80s criminal.
Really? Interesting.
Confused. You didn't.
Okay.
All right, so we continue again. 1994, former NFL running back, broadcaster, and actor Orenthal J. Simpson pleads absolutely 100% not guilty of murder.
That was the best not guilty plea ever. Not just not guilty, Your Honor, but absolutely 100% bona fide certified lock of the week. Not guilty.
The juice.
Did I just drop a Jimmy Ott in there?
I think you did.
Oh, snap.
Let's see. Let's move.
Oh, hey.
Yep.
This day in 1992, though.
Okay.
Pablo Escobar escaped from prison.
He did, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. I'm a big Pablo Escobar guy. I'm not a fan of Pablo. I find his
Medellin?
story intriguing. Medellin, starring Vincent Chase. What was the name of the Netflix show? The first 2 seasons were good because they were about Pablo Escobar, and then it went on to Narcos.
Yeah,
That's right.
there you go.
Then once they left Escobar, I stopped paying attention.
So I'll go through these others quickly. In 2003, U.S. Army Private Jessica Lynch. You remember that name? She was a prisoner of war.
Yep.
Came back, rescued, was dubbed a hero for all that she had gone through, but then they kind of embellished the story a little bit.
Yeah.
And there were some things that weren't quite accurate. 2003 also, former Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein's son Usay and Uday are killed after a 3-hour firefight with U.S. forces in northern Iraq city of Mosul.
That's gotta suck. Like, your sons go out in a 3-hour firefight, and you're just caught hiding in a hole.
Yeah.
Like, you can act like a man. Come on, Sodom. For everything you did, that's how you went out? Your kids were twice as manly as you. All right.
2005, people remember this. March of the Penguins, the documentary came out.
I'm gonna get complaints about that last take.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Good. March of the Penguins. What do we got?
March of the Penguins. Yeah, it came out in 2005.
Okay.
It was pretty popular, I guess.
All right.
Yeah. This kind of takes us to birthdays, but in 2013, Prince George, the first child of Prince William and Kate Middleton, is born.
Georgie.
Celebrity birthdays today. Selena Gomez, they say is 29, but I also saw that a site said she was 30, so I checked.
Born in 1992. That should make her 30, right?
Yeah, so it was inaccurate.
Yeah.
Prince George is 8 years old. Shawn Michaels, wrestler, is 56. David Spade, 57. Willem Dafoe.
Joe Dirt?
Yeah, old as dirt. William Dafoe is 66. Zeke Elliott.
Yup.
26 years old. Danny Glover is 75.
Good God, Ezekiel Elliott was born the same year I graduated high school?
Yeah.
I hate myself.
Here's a good one. Keith Sweat is 62. Nice for a Friday night. Keith Sweat is 60 years old. John Leguizamo, 57.
Your list is way better than mine.
And a birthday on this day in history, the late, great Alex Trebek was born on this day.
I got a couple more.
Okay.
Shout out to the morning show over there on ESPN Radio. Happy birthday, Keyshawn Johnson. This day in 1972.
E.J. Will and Max.
Yeah. Born on this day in 1966, Tim Brown, former Raiders wide receiver.
Yep.
Yeah. Hall of Famer, Tim Brown. And I have it as Bob Dole's birthday. Bob Dole. Yes, 1923, Bob Dole's birthday.
National Hammock Day.
Did you have any deaths today?
I did not.
Tony Sperano. Remember the Dolphins coach?
Yeah.
Passed away in this day in 2018. That was the only one I had.
I was stuck on National Hammock Day. I bought a hammock on my vacation, but I don't know where to set that thing up.
I'm not a hammock guy.
Yeah?
No, can't do the hammock. I'm not a It's getting in and out of them. But if
Sounds
you
like
want
a minor league baseball team.
Do what?
The hammocks.
The hammocks.
Yeah. If Hammond got a baseball team, the Hammond Hammocks.
Hammond Hammocks.
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah.
The Henderson Hammocks.
I'm not a hammock guy. All right. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk with District Attorney Tony Clayton about these unruly Utes next. Justin says power is out around Blue Bayou, traffic light out Highland at Old Perkins. I will share that as we come back in. Here, let me give you Tony Clayton's number.
Picture this. You're trying to hire someone on their website, but it takes forever to load and looks, well, horrible. So what do? You probably move on. If you're concerned that just described your website, you should call us. We're GatorWorks.
Hi, I'm Drew Brees. I've always had this growth mindset and just wanting to learn about the banking industry.
So Alondra and I have this running joke going. This commercial could just go so sour for Drew Brees. Because if you cut it off before mindset, it's just, hi, I'm Drew Brees. I've always had this growth. Who? Yeah? Nice. Oh, whoa, hold, drop it. Go get away from line one. Sorry, I should have told you that before the show. Yeah, I guess so. All right, well, hopefully it's not staticky. Still flashing. It's all good. 818 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP, Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Before we get to District Attorney Tony Clayton, shout out to Justin on our YouTube stream who says the power is out around Blue Bayou. The traffic light is out Highland and Old Perkins. So if you're around that exit, you might want to budget a couple of extra minutes or maybe find a different route because it is going to be stop and go for a good bit as you treat it out a light that's completely out as a four-way stop. Of course, if it's flashing in one specific manner, you want to respect the way that it's flashing. Flashing red, treat it as a stop. Flashing yellow, caution. But power being out, I would assume it's just out altogether. So added a little extra time on that in that corner of the parish. So juvenile justice, juvenile delinquency, juvenile criminals has been a growing topic in our local news. We're seeing moving kids to the Jetson Correctional Facility from the Bridge City Center that has just been nothing but a failure of late. We're now seeing some of these kids being moved to Angola. Alabama has straight up said, yes, we've been charging you a ridiculous amount, but that's not even enough, so we're sending kids back to Louisiana. Joining us now to talk about all of it would be District Attorney Tony Clayton. Tony, welcome back to the show. How are you? I'm great. How are you? Whoop. Tony, you there?
I know you there. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. How about yourself, sir?
Great. You know, I was listening to your intro, and in essence, you're saying when you're too bad for jail, when you get evicted or kicked out of jail, then there's a serious problem going on. And we have that problem here in our state. I was happy to see that the governor implemented an emergency plan to put these young folks who are not following the law in Angola or put them in a place where we can retain them. But we have a serious issue going on, and we have to address it now.
How much of the overall problem is a lack of grasping just how serious the crimes being committed are? When we think of the term juvenile delinquent, we think of, stealing a pack of gum from the Circle K. This is not the crimes we have traditionally attributed to children. This is murder, rape. These are major crimes.
Part of the problem, Brian, is that we started this trend a year and a half, 2 years ago of supposedly, I guess, psychiatrically treating the issue of juvenile crime. And I think that's where we went wrong. I mean, when you're 17 years old and you're committing murder and you're raping and you're doing all this, you know exactly what you're doing. And it's not as a result of because somebody dropped you when you were a baby. It's a result because of you choosing to partake in this type of activity. And Louisiana legislature is going to have to reverse itself and say, hey, we're going to start make it easy on the taxpayers, and we're going to, if you act like a criminal, we're going to treat you like a criminal, period. Now, I do think when you're under 18, there should be some educational component to try to save these young folks. But when you're out there yanking people's arms off, carjacking, shooting folks, you know, you forfeit your right to walk around with the rest of us in society. And I'm sorry, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I mean, you're going to get no opposition from me on this one. I'm 100% in your corner here because yeah, you can't, on the one hand, act like a grown-up gangster, act like a grown-up criminal, and then when it comes time to pay the price for those crimes, just throw up your hands and say, no, I'm just a kid.
Well, you and I both agree.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I'll add this to it. You know, I'm trying a murder case in 2 weeks from now with the Rax murder, where this little 17-year-old just anointed himself. God sucked the life out of this other little kid. I'm trying him as an adult, and I believe we're going to convict him, and if so, he will die in Angola. I mean, when you start killing folks unjustifiably, 17, 18, 19, I'm sorry, dude, you forfeit your right. And I don't want to come across as some weird vigilante, but I just believe that the people of this state support the fact that, when you partake in this type of activity, I'm sorry, you ought not be able to enjoy the freedom like the rest of us.
Is there a sliding scale? Is there room for a sliding scale as you reverse the age? Like 17 treated like an adult, 16 maybe a little bit less so, and so on down the line. Is there room for that in this discussion?
I never heard it put quite that way. I think that's genius on your part. I think we should visit that, yes. But let me tell you something. You got some 15, even 14-year-olds that would hurt you. I mean, that the younger they are, the more they don't appreciate life. And what I mean by that is they cannot grasp that life is precious. And, Brian, when I talk to most of these kids, they don't think they're going to live to be 23 years old. They think I'm a dinosaur. I mean, I'm in my mid-50s.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'll never be your age. I'll never grow that old. Or I won't make it past 25. So they believe it's life expectancy for them is, 1 year old to 25 years old.
We're talking with District Attorney Tony Clayton, first guest on this show to call me a genius. Tony, I don't want to confuse the discussions, though. I don't want to confuse the discussions because there is something to be said for that embedded mentality of not believing you're going to live past, say, 2022, that age. But that is to be treated before they become criminals. Once they become criminals, the punishment end has to remain the punishment end.
This is true. This is the only way. I just left Italy, and we're in Florence, Italy. I mean, crime rate just was almost non-existent, at least in the area where I was. But back to the point about calling you a genius. It's not necessarily that I'm doing that, and I think you're a smart guy, but I think you have the pulse of the people. And the reason why your show is probably the #1 show in the Baton Rouge metropolitan area is because you think out loud and you think like us, if that makes sense. If that makes you a genius, then you're a genius.
I mean, if
but
it
a
does,
whole lot of others.
If nothing else, it inflates my ego. So
well, but you're not the only genius out there. A whole bunch of other folks think like you, and they think out loud, and they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of having to read the newspaper where kids are breaking out of a correction facility and shooting people. Really? Come on, man. That's so Neanderthal. But I'm impressed that I think the governor is putting his foot down, and so hopefully we see a change as a result of what's going on.
Okay, so the governor ships some to Angola, and they're in a separate facility within Angola from the adults. So this isn't like you're not putting them in general population or whatever the terminology would be. But does a move like that, does that message get conveyed to every other juvenile who's already in custody or already in jail?
Absolutely, it does. And believe you me, just as they knew that the laws were can't even talk. Just as they knew that the laws had become relaxed as it related to them, and they started this uptick in crime. They also, when they heard the governor's message that I'm sending you incorrigible ones to Angola, they get that message. But here's the other folks that are going to get this message or have gotten the message, and that's these kind of left-wing liberal folks who you're going to see start attacking us, saying that, what are you doing? You're putting it, and it's just as you said, we're not putting them, in general population. You put them in a facility where they're out of sight of the regular prisoners up there, but, they won't break out of Angola. So what do? I think the health, safety, and welfare of the state citizen are first and foremost, should be put first. Yeah. Secondly, you're concerned about them. So constitutionally, I have a right to walk around and enjoy freedom and not have to worry about somebody shooting me or shooting my wife or my kids. And so if it takes blocking their little butts up, then you do what you got to do.
Let's talk about not shooting your wife or your kids, and this is going to come home to our listening area for sure. Mayor Darnell waits in Baker, his backyard for sure. So we're looking at the Bridge City Center down in New Orleans being a colossal failure on many levels, shipping some kids out, moving them to Jetson. Is this a step in the right direction? Although it might be, inconvenient and worrisome for Baker, is reopening Jetson a step in the right direction?
Yes, I think so. But more importantly, I think the state of Louisiana has to revisit this and allow us pre-adjudication, before you adjudicate them before you convict them, then you have to build facilities, particularly for a guy like me. For example, I have 3 parishes. If you give me 20 beds for Iberville, 15 for West Baton Rouge, and another 15 for Pointe-Coupee, my 3 parishes, I can put a serious dent in your problem. You had some kids drive over 100 miles an hour average through Pointe-Coupee, West Baton Rouge last week, and the cops had to put spikes on the road and the whole 9 yards. And then once they stopped them, and they've endangered the life of everybody, the lives of everybody on that highway. Anyway, they stopped them in Opelousas, and guess what? The parents didn't come get them. They had to put them on ankle bracelets and release them to some other family member. That's ridiculous. And so because you had no beds for them. So you drive from New Orleans to Opelousas, averaging over 100 miles an hour, and then when you finally get caught, you send them back home. Something seriously flawed with that.
Yeah, this was that story that ran through Livonia, among a number of other places along 190. And it lends to the severity of the overall discussion. It lends to where we're at when it comes to the difference between they're not just kids anymore. In the meanwhile, have we seen any movement on getting more facilities? This has been a torch you've been carrying for some time now. Are you gaining some traction?
No, absolutely not. And the last resort is to go to the taxpayers to ask them to pay more taxes. The legislature bragged about how much money they have this year and the surplus and all of this. Then crime is a problem. To ship your juveniles to another state, that's our problem. Can you imagine if New York, a kid committed a murder in New York, and you had to ship him down to New Orleans to house him? That's our problem, and we need to fix it. And we need to allocate some money so that we can build some facilities for these kids and take them off the street. Period. Like in New Orleans. I happen to be down here right now in New Orleans. My plane got in late, and I stayed in New Orleans. But, man, I was on E. I took the chance. I didn't get any gas. I'm going to try to get to the gas station on the outer borders of New Orleans before I gas up. I'm just afraid to stop. And I have a gun. I carry a gun with me. I keep a gun in my car, but I don't want to have to shoot anybody. But you got to do what you got to do to survive. But it's scary in certain parts of the city.
No, it absolutely is, and that mindset, it affects the way we run our lives, and we don't run our lives with any level of freedom because of that fear. In the meanwhile, I greatly appreciate the time this morning. I always appreciate the insight and anything we can help do to amplify the voice. District Attorney Tony Clayton, thank you for a couple minutes.
You're the best. You're my genius. Take care, my friend.
Tony Clayton. Somewhere right now, my wife's eyes are rolling. She's like, oh, I'm going to have to deal with that now. Yeah, you are. All good. Foodie Friday's coming up next, presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. I haven't seen Solou in the house just yet, but let's talk beef next. Byron says, good luck fitting Franz and Brain in the studio together after this interview. The whole YouTube shot will be their giant heads. 1,000%. That, that's... Y'all know I hate everything I do. That's Tony Clayton calling me a genius, not me. That's all we need, is me going full Ron Burgundy, right? I mean... Guys, I got to step out for a second. I'm not seeing my Foodie Friday guests, and I'm starting to worry that the weather is a concern in getting them here. So let me see what's what. Grabbing the shit out of that Tony Clayton drop. That's a promo right there, boss. Let the ego run wild. Wild, I'll tell you. No.
How do you choose the right attorney? I give you the answers at murphylawfirm.com. Don't allow insurance companies to take advantage of you.
What do you want to do instead? They're not here. I don't have another topic. I'm done. I'm like donezo for the week. You want to play Family Feud on the air? What? You versus Taylor? Foodie Friday? Foodie Friday? I'm about it. Oh. me get the tape. Yeah. Set up right there. Thank you, Chris. Okay. Yeah, I do the forecast here. Oh yeah, you got a minute. I don't know where my table went. I keep a table right there, and hang on. Time to take a look at your forecast for the day, and yeah, we've got thunderstorms throughout the morning as we have, but the chance of rain throughout the rest of the day is scaling back to around 60%. These clouds are going to linger. The rain will stick around throughout the afternoon, actually also all the way into the early evening hours. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is our high today is going to be 90 degrees. We're topping out at 90, and the heat index is going to be right around the same. So what is slowing us down on our morning drive is actually going to keep us a little bit cooler. Tomorrow's high 91, Sunday's high 94. Same thing for Monday and Tuesday as well. Right now, we're still at 75 degrees with 93% humidity in downtown Baton Rouge. Yes, you have. I know. 838 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Yes, it is time for Foodie Friday. Yes, we welcome in Chef Frederick from Solou. Welcome back, man. How are you? Well, let me get this microphone over for you. Yo!
I'm really good. Thanks for having me.
No, glad to have you back on again. My apologies. My table has grown. Well, my table grew legs. The legs worked. The table has walked off. I don't know what happened to it. But I appreciate you getting in this morning. It's kind of rough out there this morning.
Yeah,
so,
just a touch.
Yeah. Welcome back. This is Foodie Friday presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. BeefIt'sWhat'sForDinner.com is the website. BeefIt'sWhat'sForDinner.com. You need recipes. You need cooking tips. You need to know anything about beef and the health benefits, the nutrients, the protein, the iron, the 10 vitamins and minerals that you'll find in beef. It helps it be a fuel for your life at every stage of your life. BeefIt'sWhat'sForDinner.com. We teamed up with the Louisiana Beef Industry Council to bring you Foodie Friday throughout the grilling season, and that's what we're doing right now. All right, welcoming in Solou. Welcoming back Solou. Y'all have very quickly become a staple to this segment. How are you, man?
I'm really good. How are you doing?
Doing all right. What's the latest over at Solou?
We're doing really well. Seems we won the best new restaurant, so I'm hoping we can win best restaurant overall this next year.
Yeah.
You know, we're continuing to push for excellence, and I mean just in general in the company, making Raven fans. But you know, at Solou, we're really trying to push things to the next level and create a really great experience for everyone in Baton Rouge.
Well, and you're successful on that front every single time. I've had the opportunity to go to Solou on a number of occasions. I've yet to find something I haven't liked. What's hot over there right now? What's everyone's favorites?
So the fish tacos always do really well.
Mm-hmm.
Shrimp corn dogs too.
Mm-hmm.
That's a couple of classics I think from Chef Peter. But those are always really good sellers. Of course, the s'mores. That's something that it's a really just a great experience and a great dessert. You get to cook them right there at your table. So you know, there's a lot of things that we do really well over there, but those are just some of the really big winners that I think everyone would enjoy.
So since it is Foodie Friday presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council, we're going to talk a little beef here. We're going to talk about what you're plating right now in a minute, but I want to start with one other item that's on the menu over there at Solou, and that is what has quickly become a Baton Rouge staple, the Solou burger. When opening up a restaurant like Solou with everything that y'all present to folks, from the baby back ribs that are otherworldly to the fish in a bag, which is a concept that is executed perfectly every single time. How does a burger garner that much attention and that much praise?
I think it has to do with relatability, honestly. Like the familiarity factor people have with certain things, it has that level of comfort and helps really elevate the experience because you see it and you're like, I know that's going to be good. That's something that's going to really just hit the spot and do everything you want it to do. A filling meal, good beef. It's it's a wonderful dish.
No, it absolutely is, and everyone raves about the burger. So here's the thing, though. I've yet to have it. No, because I'm a baby back ribs guy. I go with the ribs, and then I go with the sweet potato tater tots. Either that or I do the fish in the bag. Either way, I know I'm walking away pleased. But the burger just it precedes you.
Absolutely.
What's the latest, man? How's business?
Business has been pretty good. I mean, it's always you want more. We want everyone in Baton Rouge, but business has been steadily going. Solou it's such an anomaly to me. It seems to always just be really consistent at everything, whether it's the level of business or the consistency of the food, the service, and that's something we can really hang our hat on too, is delivering that consistent, really good experience.
For those that are unfamiliar with it, let's talk a little bit about the overall concept. For those that have yet to experience Solou, let's talk about what they will experience when they get there.
So it's South Louisiana comfort food. That's what Solou stands for, is South Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
It's got, like you mentioned, the burger, just a lot of different classic dishes, even from the fish in a bag, which is chef's take on the fish and papillote, a very, very old French dish, all the way to the shrimp corn dogs, which was a really big thing for him with college game day. So it's, there's just so much that we have there to be proud of. And, again, like I said, the concept just, it breeds, comfort and, everything that comes along with that, honestly, just that feeling of being in a good place, having a good time, and just the vibe in general in there has been really good since day one.
You talk about the vibe in general, and how much was put into the surroundings of that place? How much was put into the ambiance and the way the place is laid out? Because y'all moved into what was a I would say a different sort of restaurant that was there beforehand. So what went into the whole experience?
So my position at the time was as the chef at Portobello's, but I can tell you from seeing how Chef and Mr. Kiva and Mike Boudreau opened Jubin's, it gave me a really good insight into the opening process at Solou, from good and bad lessons learned. And it's just, I'll be honest, it's pretty amazing to see how they conceptualize everything from the person that they're picturing as their primary demographic to the paint scheme on an accent wall. It's been a really mind-blowing experience for me because I've had a lot of experience in restaurants, but not really ever from that side of it.
Mm-hmm.
So just being able to be in there and kind of listen to how, I guess, the magic happens, it's been really just such an eye-opening experience. The attention to detail and like just some of the things that that Chef and Kiva and them will think about. It's like I would have never thought about that in a million years, but it just gives you such that nice little accent, personal touch.
Yeah. So here's the part that amazes me: is y'all took a space that was built for something very, very different in the previous occupant, and turned it into something that's very at home and comfortable. When you talk about comfort food, you're also talking about a very comfortable atmosphere. Every time I walk into Solou, the first thought is you're going to see somebody and you're going to shake hands and say hello, right? And it brings across that vibe that it's not stuffy. It's very relaxed. It's very much, if you do see somebody, walk right up to the table. Hey, how's it going? Sort of thing. You're not intruding. It's a very togetherness atmosphere.
Absolutely, I would agree with you. That's one of the main things I love about that restaurant in particular. Is and again, I think that kind of goes back into their consistency. It's just always seems to have that good feeling, that good vibe and atmosphere, and a really good group of people that come in and frequent the place. And we're proud to have repeat guests, and it as well as we're doing, it's obvious that we have that. And it's just in general makes it, from the guest perspective and from us and the restaurant's perspective, makes it overall just a better place and environment because you have that good atmosphere, and it provides such a better experience.
This is Foodie Friday, presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council, and we are going to dive into talking a little bit about this beef that's in front of us right now, which is just absolutely gorgeous as it is being plated. Presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. I tell you every single Friday, beef is what's for dinner.com. They bring you Foodie Friday throughout what is considered the grilling season, though we know that in Louisiana there's not many weeks out of the year where you can't fire things up in the backyard if you need to. But Memorial Day to Labor Day. Now, because it's the grilling season doesn't mean we're talking about throwing something on the grill every single week. We just talk about beef and the benefits. Oh, I know, right? Cannot get enough of it. In the meanwhile, let's start talking a little bit about beef, and we'll get into what we're looking at here in just a second. But we are in 2022 and all the challenges that 2022 brings. From a food provider's perspective, what challenges are y'all facing right now?
Inflation, really.
Yeah.
I guess the same thing that's crunching everybody everywhere. You know, it just cost of goods, gas, those types of things, and makes it tough. You know, it's already, to really make it in this industry, you can't just be like a fan or a weekend warrior. You know, it has to be just an all-encompassing passion to excel and be, provide a good experience or a great experience to people and make memories and provide hospitality for them. So it's, I think it's pretty painful on our end too, because, we know that, I guess it's really strange, but contextually, I guess it's a good thing that everyone knows that it's hitting, the price increases. So it's sad, because you want to see people continue to have a good time and be able to keep living life the way they want to. But at the same time, it's, that's the biggest struggle for us.
Well, and that's the exact reason why I asked the question, is because as we continue down this path, since the beginning of COVID, we went through can't go out at all, can go out at 25%, can go out, but you got to wear a mask from the door to the table, like all the little steps we've had along the way. And then we got to the supply chain issues. And then the Great Resignation factors into the labor shortage and whatnot, and now the inflation plays into it as well. It provides or presents excess challenges on y'all's front, because when the customer sits down, you're trying to give them the exact same experience they've had since before 2020. Well, not with, but the same restaurant experience that you would want without all the distractions. But the distractions are there and very real.
And unfortunately, that's part of what our business is helping people get an escape from that. And as the tougher the times get, the tougher that is. But nevertheless, all the restaurants we have, from the Portobello's, Solou, Jubin's, we're all striving for excellence every day, in the front, in the back, from the dish pit to the host stand, and hopefully that's something that we can help provide a nice relief and escape and getaway for people to, enjoy themselves and, kind of forget the troubles of the world for a minute.
Okay, throughout this entire segment, Chef Frederick has been multitasking, plating what is a very, very gorgeous cut of beef. And we'll get into the particulars of that on the back end. We are due up for a break on the air on YouTube. Stick around. I'm going to put a poll question up on YouTube this week. Your Louisiana Beef Industry Council wants to know, what are you grilling this weekend? What are you firing up? Let us know over on YouTube. We'll talk about it a little more. In the meanwhile, on air, here comes Your Money Now. Oh,
Are we off the air?
do what? We are still on YouTube. I can kill the mics if you want us to, but
Oh, no, you're good.
Okay. So, yeah.
I felt weird. So I thought Peter was texting me or something. That's why I pulled out the phone.
No, it's all
And
good.
I'm looking,
It's
and I'm
all
like,
good.
that's gonna be on the thing. See me looking at that.
Blaine is asking what you brought. That's gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you.
So, I appreciate you coming in this morning.
Absolutely, I like doing this show. It was kind of sad when y'all had to stop for COVID, and
yeah, and I really want to get back to cooking, because the first, were you here when we actually had the little burner and?
Nothing like smoking the room up.
Yeah, we'd prop open the window and point a fan at it, and so that came to a very quick halt when Chef Josh Hebert lit a flame that touched the ceiling. Like, it literally touched the ceiling. And there was a pause that might have been 7 or 8 seconds, but it felt like 20 minutes, where we all just stopped frozen, and then he goes, "We're okay," and that was it. But they put a stop to it, and then when they put in the curtains and everything for the better backdrop and whatnot, it kind of changed up the vibe. We're still trying to figure out how to get back to where we can actually cook in here because it makes for a better segment. You know,
sure.
It makes for you hear that sizzle and you know you get you're working. You know, it's
that's why
you're working and multitasking.
When I'm reading the thing that that Chef Peter had sent me, and I'm like, no cooking.
I know. It's we're a little bit hamstrung by it.
Wait, is that right?
Yeah, it is. So
I begged him to call, make sure I was not going to be underprepared.
No, it's all good. So let's go ahead and bring this around. I'm going to show this off to the big camera here, so we have a good look at it.
Beef is an excellent source of protein.
Ooh, making it runny.
B vitamins, iron, and more. Gorgeous. Highlighting all the fantastic ways you can kick off your summer grilling season. Whether it's at ribeye or beef kebab, it adds a secret flavor to the recipe.
Yes, be jealous, y'all, because this just looks unbelievable. So what are we looking at here exactly? What cut is this?
Beef
What is
tenderloin.
this? Is tenderloin?
Filet
Okay.
mignon.
Okay.
Center cut, really Rolls Royce of beef. It's
Yeah.
beautiful cut, really delicious. So I seared it in the pan,
Mhm.
threw a little butter and thyme in there, and gave it a little base. I really love that method for filet because it's got so little fat in
Mhm.
general. So it's nice to be able to kind of insulate it and just kind of let it rest in that butter. Get to a nice perfect temp. Want to pat myself on the back that it maintains such a nice color all the way here, but and then we got some just nice summer squash and some green beans and a little roasted carrot, just roasted real simply in some olive oil and thyme with a little salt.
Okay.
And some herb mashed potatoes, a little butter and olive oil in those. I just did a little Pinot reduction with a little demi-glace and mounted some butter at the end just to kind of finish it off and round out the sauce. Hopefully you like it.
Oh no, I'm absolutely certain I will. And by the way, I'm going to ask you to repeat all that as soon as we're back on the air for the full audience. So this was all just YouTube.
That was for Susan Wojcicki.
Do what?
The YouTube CEO lady.
Yeah, exactly.
Mama Susan.
So, yeah, looking forward to this one.
It's a good thing Chef told me beef yesterday.
Right?
I was planning on fish. I don't know if the beef guys want to sponsor.
No. So I've had one guest already mess that up and brought pork. So
nice.
Yeah. I'm like, bro, come on. So actually, what we're working on right now is finding something similar to carry it beyond Labor Day, so that we can branch out a little bit. We have so many different other options. It feels heavy to do but you don't realize until you're in it the number of different ways that we don't repeat ourselves, but maybe once or twice the whole time. Like I'll have maybe 2 different people do a steak, and it'll be a different steak.
You know who you got next week for the sponsor? Or?
Oh, it's y'all again.
I know that.
But I don't know.
I want to give Chris the heads up on it.
Yeah.
We'll be here next week.
Which one is it? Jubin's next week?
Yeah.
Okay. I've yet to get by Jubin's since the reopening.
They got a really, really good tuna dish.
Okay.
Chris's style. Obviously we both are from Louisiana, but he's got more like Asian infusion into his Creole take on things. But most of my career has been New Orleans, French and Creole. But I really love Mediterranean, so come try the hummus at Solou.
Okay.
Is the mic on?
Yes.
Shy told me how to make it.
Oh! I wouldn't kill the mic for that.
I don't like him. He's not a nice guy.
That doesn't surprise me. No, except
I said, I don't want to.
No. Friend of a friend, but I've heard through that it's like that's exactly what I've heard.
Yes.
8:56 now, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Couple minutes to go here on Foodie Friday. We've got Chef Frederick from Solou in the house, and we are looking at a glorious steak. Okay, so we talked about it during the break. What are we eating here? Tell me what we're looking at and what I'm about to indulge in.
So we got a nice pan-seared beef tendon or filet mignon. Just got a nice crust seared on it with some salt and pepper. That's all I really like on a steak is salt and pepper. I think it just kind of brings out the natural beefiness of it. Butter basted it with a little butter and thyme. Again, for me, the filet's it just doesn't have a lot of fat, so it's a really good method to kind of give some insulation and protection to the meat. Help let it rest in that butter you browned a little bit with the thyme in it. Just kind of gives that little extra herb infusion into the meat. It's served with some herb mashed potatoes. I got a little thyme and parsley in there, and a little thyme, parsley, and green onion, olive oil, and butter. And some simply roasted vegetables, some green beans, haricot verts, whatever your preference is. Some nice summer squash and carrots, gently garnished with some parsley and a Pinot Noir reduction.
The method of preparation on the filet has grown in popularity. Like more and more of us are learning how to do it right. I think everybody's kind of copying what they see on YouTube, and it's relatively similar across the board. Do you like to see that growth in popularity for the novices to get out there and flex their foodie chops?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, it makes things better for us in the industry in general, because once you start to get even just a little bit more adventurous, then you're a little more willing to, try some, I guess, more exotic or out there foods. And I mean, that's really, how are you going to know if you like it without trying it?
Well, but along with that, though, is there something to be said for, like, everybody kind of has come around to the butter. You don't want to over-season, like, not over-seasoning, especially the filet. Like, the better the cut of meat, the less the seasoning you need. And just, you start with the light salt and pepper, you go with the butter, the thyme. Some use rosemary as well, but it's gotten to a very, I don't want to say regimented, but, like, everybody's got this, like, accepted, this is the method now, this is how we're doing it. Is that limiting, or should we continue exploring, or is it like this is the best it gets?
I mean, for sure, I would always continue exploring. I mean, like my preferred apron in the kitchen's got the blue and white stripes on it because it means you're a commis and you're at the bottom and you're still learning. Even when you're got your name on your coat or your name over the door of the restaurant, you're still learning. You can never learn everything, and as soon as you say you have, then that's when you know you don't know anything. So it's, growth is great no matter what it is, honestly. It's something everyone should strive for, I guess in everything that you're going to do. I mean, anything worth doing is worth doing well, right?
No, exactly right. That's exactly right. And we'll get right back into experimenting with the way we do things as soon as prices come down, when you can afford to swing and miss once in a while. Right. In the meanwhile, Solou, you know where to find them there. What's the exact address on Perkins? Okay, it's on Perkins, in between Kenilworth and Essen, is where you're going to find Solou. It is very quickly become a Baton Rouge staple. On air, we got a roll on YouTube. Stick around. We taste test right after we hit CBS News at the top of the hour. This has been Foodie Friday, presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Beefitswhatsfordinner.com is the website. Chef Frederick from Solou, thank you so much for hopping on board today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Fox News Rundown's coming up next, followed by Kilmeade, Ramsey, and Jay Ducote right here on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk. Still up for this, so I'm going to dig in here. You care if I just take the whole damn thing and not even worried about chopping it up? My word.
Salt and pepper, so simple and so perfect. All right, still got it.
Yeah, no. It's so, oh, God.
So another little
I just don't understand why filet is so perfect.
Another little trick, too, I like to do is, let your meat kind of get to room temperature. And, I mean, even if you think about how you're going to, like, if you're really planning ahead and you're trying to really, like, bring it to the next level, like, you're doing a barbecue tomorrow, you're doing steaks, season the steak the night. Like you can do it the night before. Just don't put as much salt as you would going straight on the grill.
Okay.
Like you cut that down a lot, it's gonna like start to cure the meat and just really like imbue the beefy flavor, and just it's gonna make it a lot more of a. I mean, I love doing that. That's my preferred way too. Is if you can, get a little salt on there ahead of time. Kind of let that meat, the water start to pull out.
Hang on one second. I'm sorry. Are we still on YouTube? It's because I got a black screen here. That's weird. So okay, you talk about you would season the night. You could season the night before as well.
You just want to cut it. You want to cut the seasoning way down though. You don't want to put the same thing you would put.
What are the effects? What are the effects on the meat? And not to get too scientific about it, but what are the effects on the meat when you do it that way? Does it absorb more of what's in there versus when?
Yeah, it's just starting to kind of break down the meat and let the water kind of render out and just really like concentrate the beef flavor.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a whole process of what's going on. I'm not really entirely sure about the whole part of it, but that's really what it's got to do with is breaking down the cell walls and water releasing and then seeping out. But like I said, if you're just using a little bit, you're not going to have that concentrated flavor like you're curing it, And when I say a little bit, I'm like, just to give an estimate, I guess like a third of 1%, something like that, or maybe a quarter of 1%
Okay.
of the weight. So like I said, just like you're talking about maybe a gram or something, like just a little bit, it'll really help to pull that moisture out. I mean, obviously you can adjust that, if you're doing it 20 minutes before it goes on the grill versus the evening before, but it's, again, something, I don't know if I'd recommend getting right into it on a filet, but, certainly if you're doing like pot roast or something like that, works out really well for that, and that's not too outrageous right now.
Yeah.
But that's something, or even just like read or watch YouTube videos, honestly, you can learn a lot on there now from really good chefs and guys whose entire career is like food science. So there's just a lot of stuff that you can learn out there available free and, honestly pretty entertaining too.
Cooking has always to me been the perfect combination of art and science. Which way do you lean? Are you more the art side or the science side?
I guess I'm a switch hitter.
Okay.
Pretty ambidextrous with it because the science aspect it's really fascinating. One of the places I worked was Peristyle. I don't know if any of you guys remember that in New Orleans. It was at Rampart and Dumaine. And one of the things we had to do there was it was called the daily. It was the daily charcuterie, which you switched every other day. You could not do a repeat ever. And, so you had to do like pate or, salumi or a sausage. I made my living doing crepenettes, which is like a hamburger wrapped in caul fat, essentially.
Okay.
Until they told me, you can't do that anymore because it was just really easy, and I'd never done that before. But, my saute guy gave me a book called Charcuterie by Michael Rollman, and that was really my first, introduction to, like, food science, I guess, like learning about the magic of salt. Just the preservation, and how vastly differently we used to use it even just 100 years ago versus, today with modern refrigeration. And, so that learning how to do cured meats and sausages is what really kind of got me on that path of, the science behind what's going on and like how you can affect the food and, turning something like scraps into something amazing like, a pate or a sausage. Most people don't really, until you've, really made it, they don't really understand that that's mostly the castaway cuts, you're trimming and you're making something amazing with it.
Dude, it does amaze me. The fact that when you look back, so hindsight's 20/20 and everything, right? But things that used to be considered just okay, that's the garbage. That's what we're throwing out.
Right.
Finding new ways to use it. We had one guest on a couple weeks ago making Wagyu hot dogs. It's like it sounds like what are you doing chopping Wagyu? No, you're taking the trim and the fat and the not the fat, but you're taking what would have been thrown away, what couldn't be utilized for actual cuts.
Right.
So, but
believe it or not, it's things like hot dogs and like bologna are not the easiest things to make from scratch. They're actually
Really?
require a lot of. You can't just be any geek off the street. You got to know kind of what you're doing, and it's about temperature control. Like, just all charcuterie really is about temperature, and like if you're making sausage, you really want it to be almost frozen meat when you're grinding it. It just helps with the emulsion staying set and not breaking. And like bologna's a similar one. Like you got to like be feeding ice, into your RoboCoupe as it's processing to kind of set the emulsion and get it really, really smooth. You know, like when you really start getting into it, like a lot of those things that we have, like is just common, everyday, or even like considered cheap items here. You know, if you go have like the real deal, it's like, oh my God, this is nowhere near the same.
Right.
You know, or somewhere that does like, you know, good charcuterie around, you know, in town or maybe in New Orleans or something like that. You get some like real mortadelle. It's not even comparing apples and oranges, you know.
Really?
You're talking about like spoiled fruit versus ripe. It's like not even close, you know. Just, I mean, the subtleties in the flavor and like the texture. It's not the same. Like I would recommend anyone who can have that, you know, actually go try like some real like mortadelle or really any cured meats are just. I mean, I love them. That was something that really sparked my first bit of passion in food.
Now you got me questioning my own existence at this point, because now I don't know if I've actually had anything good. Like now I'm questioning, have I really? Because there's so much that I love, so many of the cured meats that I love, and now I'm like wondering, maybe I haven't even really experienced them yet. Like it's.
Yeah, so like my wife's been to Italy when she went to Parma, where they make the most famous prosciutto, well, one of the most famous prosciuttos, and it's like you had to reserve the prosciutto like 2-3 years ahead of time before you picked it up, and it was like $10,000.
What?
Yeah, so it's like extreme artisanal. It's an extreme artisanal thing, but you know, I mean, that's what the price is that much. Why it's that much for that specifically. You know, it's got the whatever the European brand that you can't duplicate, or I can't remember what it is. The AO something. I can't recall it, but you know, it's just some of those products. It's not even close. You know, like Hershey's versus Swiss chocolate. It's like you're
Yeah. I hear you.
You're looking at, you know, Kawasaki versus a Harley. You know, it's
exactly. Well, look, I appreciate you coming in. Oh, full review on what I just tried a minute ago. So you do taste the subtleness of the salt, like it's a subtle salt and pepper, but the beef does all the work here. The Pinot reduction, by the way, is fabulous.
Thank you.
Because it's not overbearing. It's not. You're allowing the beef to be the star of the show. The beef is the star of the show, and you're not trying to like, ooh, I'm going to out chef it by doing something that's going to take over. It does not take over. It accentuates it. It's character player in the play, but the level of perfection on the temperature, or the temperature at this point, because you know we've been talking for a little while, but on the cooking of the cut itself is wonderful as well. By the way, internal temperature on a fillet, where do you normally roll at?
mid rare, like 130.
Yeah,
and then I'll let it rest up. Somewhere right around there. I mean, to me, and that's, you know, one of the things that I stress to all the cooks that I really have had. If you're on the grill, I really prefer the filet in a pan for that reason. You know, being able to baste it with the butter, letting it be able to rest in that hot pan with that, you know, time-infused butter still in there. You know, it really just helps you kind of let that marinade kind of seep in there and give you that herby subtlety, you know, in the beef. So it's, you know, just really hard for me to have it any other way than that. You know, like when you let it rest, it lets everything just relax, and the juices will kind of stay in there. When you cut it, you don't have a big pool of like bloody juice all over the plate or anything like that. And
right.
You know, and then I mean, even when you're letting it rest, you saw me finishing that sauce. You know, it had all those beef juices in there. That's gold.
Yeah.
Went right into the sauce, and we whisked it together. You know, you don't want to let that go to waste. And you really, if you just throw it straight from the grill right onto your plate, you cut it, and like all your juices are there. They're on the plate.
The job's not done. Just because it's been removed from the heat doesn't mean the job's done. Absolutely. 130. It's absolute. It's so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely wonderful. I haven't tried the side yet, but I know we got to get out of here for the potatoes with the vegetable medley there. We'll dig into that after we're off the air. In the meanwhile, thank you all for sticking around. Thank you all for watching. Come back Monday. Monday show's already starting to stack up. Actually, all of next week is stacking up. We got a number of big shows lined up for you. So it's been Foodie Friday presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Y'all have a great weekend. Stay safe out there.